Chapter 1093. You are courting death. Demon Lord turned around and slashed his sword. However, this person's attack speed was not as fast as Lu Chen's. Lu Chen had a few more speed talismans in his hand. In a blink of an eye, he was behind Demon Lord. You don't want to break my bones? Then, let's do it again. Lu Chen shouted and avoided his opponent's attack. He launched a second wave of attack. His fists were like raindrops falling on Demon Lord's body. A close uppercut hit Demon Lord's ribs. With a cracking sound, Demon Lord's ribs were broken. Demon Lord suddenly felt a sharp pain. Damn, what kind of martial art is this? Why is there such a strong martial art? Lu Chen coldly snorted. How can you understand the strength of my martial art? After that, he punched again and broke Demon Lord's right ribs. This time, Demon Lord has completely lost his fighting power. Lu Chen's legs were covered with speed talismans. He avoided the demon puppets and rushed toward Demon Lord Chongbei. Demon Lord Chongbei's combat experience was quite rich. He quickly controlled the puppet to intercept. Lu Chen's body was covered with speed talismans. He avoided the puppet's sweep and rushed straight to the puppet master behind the puppet master. Damn, this guy's whole body is so flexible? Speed talismans can be used like this. Demon Lord hurriedly used his movement skill. Jiang Qingyan Fly. Demon Lord Chongbei's movement skill was relatively advanced. There were 3 flickering movements. However, after 3 movements, Demon Lord Chongbei was embarrassed. Although Jiang Qingyan Fly can quickly pull away from Lu Chen, the skill has a cooldown. But Lu Chen's speed talismans can be used all the time without consuming spiritual power. Not long after, Lu Chen approached Demon Lord Chongbei. Damn, this guy can't be shaken off. Demon Lord Chongbei tried to withdraw his puppet to block, but it was too late. Poison extraction silver needle. Demon Lord Chongbei opened his puppet's abdomen and shot out a burst of silver needles. Although Demon Lord Chongbei's reaction was fast enough, for Lu Chen, this level of reaction speed was not on the same level as the previous battles he experienced. For example, King of Hell, his speed was beyond the naked eye. Insignificant skill. Lu Chen snorted and quickly avoided the silver needles. He had already arrived in front of Zhongbei. Lu Chen can even kill Demon Lord Chongbei, not to mention a puppet master. Bone-breaking fist. However, unexpectedly, Demon Lord Chongbei's body. When Lu Chen's body's fist, his body's spirit shield. Ha 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 ha, little bastard Zizis. I'm afraid your attacks are just tickling me. Evil kill him. Lu Chen completely ignored the evil demon puppets rushing towards him, and continued to tangle with Zhongbei. Relying on his nimble movements, he quickly unleashed a second set of bone-shattering fists. The shield didn't break, but Chongbei's right arm was broken. This. Demon Lord Chongbei was frightened. Lu Chen sneered. Just now when I got close to you, I deliberately forced you to move. I found that you didn't hesitate to stay away from the puppet to prevent me from getting close to you. It means that you are afraid of me getting close to you. Since you are afraid of me getting close to you, why are you afraid of me getting close to you? My attack is not high. The only explanation is that your shield's level is not high. It can block my attack, but it can't block my special effect. Demon Lord Chongbei's face was pale. This fellow had grasped his own mentality too accurately, wasn't he? Demon Lord Chongbei was indeed bluffing. Under normal circumstances, when the opponent saw that his attack was blocked, he should think about how to dodge the puppet's attack. But this guy didn't care. He directly launched 2 attacks and finally used the bone-breaking attack. Demonic Academy. Who are you? Who I am is not important. What's important is that you have lost. Lu Chen immediately used the bone-breaking fist to defeat Demon Lord Chongbei. After another round of attacks and completely defeating the 2, Lu Chen sat on the bridge and leisurely organized the 2's backpacks. In the 6th heaven, the audience was dumbfounded. Xianer's tiredness from watching the battle through the night was gone at this moment. She stared at the guy on the screen with her eyes wide open. Just now, the representative of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace had killed a powerful opponent with his sword. However, Xianer was deeply attracted by Lu Chen's battle. The representative of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace relied on his powerful equipment to win. Solipsistic, on the other hand, only used the Speed Talisman and the Bone-Breaking Fist to defeat two powerful opponents. Although she admired Solipsistic for killing the King of Hell, she didn't have any hope for him in the Prodigy competition. This guy. He used two items that others didn't want and used them to such a terrifying effect? What kind of monster is this? In the Demonic Academy's martial arts field, a green light shone. Everyone's eyes were wide open. What the fuck? That's possible. The president killed them instead. What the fuck? It can't be right? How can a Speed Talisman and a Bone-Breaking Hammer give off the feeling of several sets of heaven-tier cultivation techniques? It's over, it's over, it's over, it's over, the president is looting. Xiao Zhan's whole body trembled. Two trash skills were already so powerful. Now the president had two backpacks for him to choose from. Moreover, they were basically two people's backpacks. How could he survive? No. My 8 million. What are the Chonglu and Chongbei brothers doing? They can't even kill the president. This time it's over. Everyone looked at Lu Chun, who was leisurely searching through the backpacks, and their hearts almost stopped beating. Lu Chun sat there alone, searching through the backpacks. The two of them had almost all their equipment. Lu Chun compared them. Weapons, clothes, helmets, shoes, arm guards, wrist guards, leg guards. These equipment were somewhat interesting. They were all body equipment without any special effects, but they could increase the user's attributes. It should be specially made for the Tianjiao competition. After all, they couldn't use soul-body fusion here, so the attributes had to be added to the user's body. Perhaps because it was more difficult to make body equipment, the attributes added couldn't be compared to battle soul equipment. The attributes added were only in the tens. However, after a set of equipment was completed, Lu Chen's attributes had greatly increased. All 4 attributes had reached more than 2,000 points. In addition, Lu Chen learned 2 sets of scimitar skills, Crescent Blade, and Revolving Moonlight Slash, a set of puppet manipulation technique, 2 sets of movement skills, Jiang Qing Yan Fei, Lone Tree Flash, Puppet Strings, and the Demon Puppet. Lu Chen checked the puppet's attributes. It had 1 defensive skill and 2 offensive skills. Putting the Crescent Blade on his back and putting away the puppet, Lu Chen stood up and let out a long sigh. He almost burst into tears. I finally have equipment and skills. This time, I should be able to reach the top 10. Now my students must be cheering for me. The president did it. Lu Chen found a shadow stone in the sky, clenched his fist at the shadow stone, and made a gesture of cheering. In the Demonic Academy, the atmosphere was sorrowful. The president is flying. It's completely over. My 500,000 spirit stones, that was saved by me scrimping and saving for a few months. Is there any foreign trade business in the academy recently? Do we still need manpower? It's okay if the salary is low, just take care of 2 meals. Chapter 1094. When he thought of the diligent students in the academy, Lu Chen felt that the burden on his shoulders was very heavy. He was shouldering the hopes of those diligent students, so he was even more motivated. He headed all the way to the final battle. On the 8th day of the Prodigy tournament, Lu Chen smoothly arrived at the periphery of the final battle. There were no buildings near the final battle. It was an open and unobstructed plain. It looked like the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace had deliberately arranged this. If one wanted to get into the top 10, they had to have excellent skills and the strength to defeat their opponents head-on. However, Lu Chen could see several huge treasure chests at a glance. They should be the highest-level treasure chests, and the items inside must also be top-level. However, the strange thing was that the treasure chests were so conspicuous, but they were still there untouched, and there was not a single person around. Speaking of which, there were still more than 4,000 people left. If he, the slowest person, had arrived near the final battle, then the others must have arrived as well. Obviously, these people were lying in ambush somewhere nearby, waiting for an opportunity to move. Exine, or had been comparing the performance of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace's representative, Tang Yu, and Solipsistic in the competition. Needless to say, after Tang Yu entered the purple gold continent and obtained the first treasure chest, he activated Berserk mode. If he met a god, he killed a god. If he met a Buddha, he killed a Buddha. He overcame all obstacles along the way and killed more than 400 people. His equipment, skills, and even recovery pills and attribute pills. Who knew how many he had taken? It could be said that apart from the top-level treasure chests in the final battle, he was now wearing top-level equipment. However, even though Tang Yu was already very strong, he was currently hiding in the grass that was half a person's height. After all, to be able to survive until now, other people's equipment couldn't be much worse than his. Everyone was a powerhouse, so if he went out now, he would very likely become a target for everyone. On Solipsistic's side, although he also had a full set of equipment, compared to the top-level powerhouses, he was still more than a level lower. However, it was this guy with ordinary equipment that actually walked towards the biggest treasure chests in an ostentatious manner. Seeing this, Xian completely stopped watching Tang Yu's competition and focused all her attention on Lu Chen. It wasn't that Xian didn't care about Tang Yu's results at all. After all, he represented the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. But it couldn't be helped. It was hard not to pay attention to Solipsistic's every move. No way, he just walked over like that? Hadn't he always been cautious? This is too hard to understand. Xianer's eyes widened, and even her breathing became hurried. This was the place where thousands of people were lying in ambush. On the other side, the disciples of the demonic academy huddled together in fear. Please, send an expert to punish the dean. The current dean is a man equipped with a low-level cultivation technique and 2 middle-level cultivation techniques. How could those people with 4 or 5 high-level cultivation techniques be his match? Pray for a miracle. Lu Chen walked towards the VIP room as if there was no one around. The group of people hiding in the bushes had their minds blank. Is that guy crazy? Anyone with half a brain would know that this place is filled with people. How did he get here? How dare he? Damn it, should we make a move? However, the representative of Celestial Fortress saw Lu Chen's badge and immediately understood. Demonic Academy. Damn. It's nameless. I was wondering who had the guts. Forget it if it's this guy. I think it's better to stay low. The treasure chest in front of them was bigger than Lu Chen, so the things inside definitely wouldn't be bad. When he was about 200 meters away from the treasure chest, Lu Chen suddenly stopped and looked around with a frown. If you don't make a move, I'm going to open the chest. A gust of wind blew, and the bushes moved neatly with the wind. Lu Chen waited for a while, but still no one came out. He shook his head. Since you don't want to come out, then I won't be polite. With that, he continued to walk towards the treasure chest. 150 meters, 100 meters, 50 meters. Lu Chen walked very slowly, as if he was deliberately giving the ambushing opponents enough time to hesitate. Ma Bei and the others' hearts were in their throats. He's seducing the ambushers, Huang Xian said. The others are probably confused by his actions, wanting to make a move but not daring to. Moreover, they have to consider that once they show themselves, they will become the target of others. This is the ultimate psychological game. Nameless threw the difficult problem to all the opponents. Who knows how many people's plans have been messed up by Nameless' move? They definitely wouldn't think that someone would dare to do this. Ma Bei nodded. Nameless' move is indeed ruthless, but he needs to have enough confidence in his own reaction. Otherwise, who would dare to play like this? Solipsistic isn't called solipsistic for nothing. That guy is crazy. When Lu Chen was only 50 meters away from the treasure chest, someone finally couldn't take it anymore. You're asking for it. You want to open a level 5 chest in front of me? Dream on. I can't stand such an arrogant guy. Kill him. In an instant, hundreds of figures rushed out from the bushes at the same time, shooting towards Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen snorted. I knew that someone would definitely not be able to hold back and make a move. Since you're here, don't leave. For some people, it was to fight for a ranking, but for some super strong people, there was no such thing as second place in their dictionaries. How could they let Nameless obtain a top-grade treasure chest so easily? How dare you be so arrogant in front of me, mysterious Ingos claw? A black illusory claw directly grabbed at Lu Chen from dozens of meters away. Flat mountain sword aura. Gale steps. Overlord's possession. Fixed shot. A large number of skills were thrown at him. The skills of the 9 major professions were endless. In an instant, even the demonic academy's disciples saw hope. But at this moment, Lu Chen's figure suddenly blurred. Lone Tree Flash. Jiang Qingyan Fly. However, these people were all top experts of their respective continents, and their combat abilities were definitely not weak. It was as if they knew that Lu Chen had a teleportation skill, and even more skills were thrown at Lu Chen's second landing spot. You've used up your teleportation skill, right? Let's see where you can run to. 10,000 swords return. I've been waiting for your teleportation skill, Azura Tempest Seal. However, in the midst of his rapid movement, there were dozens of speed talismans in Lu Chen's hand. Who told you that I've used up my teleportation skill? Speed talismans. After saying that, Lu Chen's speed increased again, dodging a large number of attacks, and pouncing towards the person who attacked him the most. That person was Royal Heaven Immortal Palace's Tang Yu. Seeing that you're jumping the fiercest, I'll take care of you first. Lu Chen quickly rushed towards Tang Yu. Xian. Suddenly realized that the 2 scenes in front of her were actually synchronized. The one with the worst equipment was eyeing the one with the most luxurious equipment? This guy is really crazy. Xian couldn't help but exclaim. Chapter 1095. Lu Chen chose to prioritize killing the strongest one. Originally, Tang Yu had already made preparations. Although this guy had increased his speed with the acceleration talisman, it was still just an acceleration talisman. He also had a displacement skill, so he didn't need to be afraid. Looking for me? You really have guts. Shadow wave treading. Tang Yu was very sure that as long as he put some distance between them, he would have enough room to attack. With his skills, he could kill this person without any injuries. However, Tang Yu didn't expect that as soon as he landed, another figure would suddenly pounce on him at an extremely fast speed. The newcomer had a sinister and strange appearance, and his joints were stiff, but his speed was even faster than the person from the demonic academy. This is a puppet? Tang Yu's eyes widened. The person from the demonic academy was agile, and had quick reflexes. Judging from how he had dodged everyone's attacks just now, he should be a combat expert who specialized in close combat. But who knew that he was actually a puppeteer? Even if he was a puppeteer, it wouldn't be a big deal. But this person's puppet was too fast. Moreover, it wasn't using a displacement skill. It wasn't until he saw the talismans on the puppet's legs that he realized. Why was it so fast? Because that guy had used an acceleration talisman on his puppet. In the main hall of the Heavenly Music Parlor, Qing Ying's eyes widened. This guy can actually use the acceleration talisman like this? The High Mountain Pavilion Master couldn't help but stand up and stare at the screen. Not only did he explore the usage of the acceleration talisman to the extreme, but he also coordinated it with his skills. That puppet isn't too strong, but in his hands, it's comparable to a war god puppet. At this time, in the main hall of the Heavenly Music Parlor, a burly man from another race narrowed his eyes. The same thing in nameless hands has a completely different effect. No wonder this person could escape from the underworld's abyss of myriad calamities and kill the king of hell, Demon Lord. As long as he's given the slightest chance, he'll grasp it tightly. Under Lu Chen's control, the demon puppet's power had far surpassed that of Zhong Bei, a pure puppeteer. His body and the puppet were almost like one. In addition, both of them were enhanced by acceleration talismans. Whether it was movement or attack speed, they were always at an extremely high level. Most importantly, while other puppeteers controlled their puppets from afar, Lu Chen was adept at close combat. Tang Yu had just landed when he was attacked by a puppet. He hurriedly activated his teleportation skill again. However, what was waiting for him this time was Lu Chen's main body. For a moment, Lu Chen avoided most of the attacks by widening the distance between them. At the same time, he forced Tang Yu into a 1 versus 2 situation. Speed Talisman. Bone-shattering fist. Tang Yu hastily summoned a shield. Gold Jade Shield. For a moment, spiritual energy collided, and a series of treasure chests appeared. Damn it. Don't be arrogant. Traveling Crane Sword Shadow. Tang Yu's sword shot out like lightning, launching a fierce attack on Lu Chen. Lu Chen quickly relied on the haste effect of the haste talisman to avoid Tang Yu's attack. Suddenly, the chest of the puppet behind Tang Yu opened. Poison extracting silver needles. A silver light flashed and a large number of silver needles swept towards Tang Yu. Not only were Tang Yu's 2 teleportation skills unable to shake off Lu Chen and the puppet, but he was now in a situation where he had no more teleportation skills to use. Facing the barrage of silver needles, his current attributes weren't enough to support him in avoiding the high-speed silver needles. Clang, 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 clang. A series of collisions rang out as the silver needles struck his shield. Your shield isn't bad. Lu Chen sneered. If he had fought with the Chonglu brothers before, he probably wouldn't have been able to break through Tang Yu's shield with his attacks. However, he was now fully equipped, and his attributes weren't so low that he couldn't break through the shield. Revolving Moonlight Slash. The scimitar in his hand shot out several arcs of sword energy. After they bounced off Tang Yu's shield, they didn't disappear. Instead, they repeatedly attacked 2 or 3 times before finally dissipating due to exhaustion of spiritual energy. After a series of attacks, Tang Yu's shield had been broken. Isha now. Lu Chen added a few more speed talismans, allowing Isha to maintain high mobility. Tang Yu had been besieged by these 2 guys who seemed to have activated speed cheats, and his godly equipment was quite strenuous. A streak of sword energy temporarily forced Lu Chen and the puppet back. Tang Yu angrily said, You guys aren't done yet. Where did you get so many speed talismans? He really hadn't expected that the speed talismans could be used like this, but the problem was that this guy had already used more than 20 speed talismans against him, and now he was still taking out a bunch. Not many, just a few thousand. Lu Chen sneered. Then he and the puppet attacked again. Even though Tang Yu had 5 or 6 fairly powerful offensive skills, 2 high-level teleportation skills, and a defensive skill with considerable defensive power, his opponent didn't give him a chance at all. Speed Talisman. Bone-shattering fist. After a series of fierce attacks, there was a crack as Tang Yu's right arm fractured. Tang Yu had just slowed down a bit when the accelerated version of Sha quickly caught up to him. It opened its arms and hugged Tang Yu tightly. Binding mechanism. Tang Yu, who had just lost his arm, was stuck in his wound by a powerful force and he screamed in pain. Bone-shattering fist. Lu Chen launched another wave of attacks. Crack! Soon Tang Yu fell down powerlessly. Exiner looked at the scene in disbelief. Tang Yu had actually been defeated by the solipsistic. The level of these 2 people's equipment was on a completely different level, but Tang Yu had been beaten to the point where he couldn't fight back at all. How could that guy use such a low-level skill to defeat Tang Yu? Exiner felt like her mind was in chaos. Not only was Tang Yu defeated, but it was a crushing defeat. Tang Yu hadn't even touched the solipsistic. Er's father had appeared behind her again at some point. After a long time he said, the so-called extreme is probably referring to the solipsistic. He uses his current resources to the extreme. Moreover, in his battle with Tang Yu, he showed his experience in hundreds of battles. That's something that Tang Yu can't match at all. I reckon that it won't be long before the puppet's combination with his own melee attacks becomes a new model that all puppeteers will compete to imitate. Exiner was dumbfounded. That guy had just casually paired things up, and it actually became a teaching material that everyone competed to imitate. Exiner, do you still think he's stupid now? The man smiled at Exiner. Exiner took a deep breath and smiled. Dad, although he's really amazing when he fights, I don't know why, but I still think he's stupid. So stupid that he's cute. The man looked at his daughter's slightly red cheeks and shook his head with a smile. He deliberately sighed loudly and said, a grown girl can't be kept at home. Dad, what are you saying? After Lu Chen dealt with Tang Yu, he turned around and reappeared another person. Speed Talisman. Bone-shattering fist. This guy's luck wasn't too good. The first wave of bone-shattering fist directly fractured his ribs. Before that guy could react, Lu Chen and the puppet decisively put him down and pounced on the next target. For a moment, everyone witnessed what it meant to constantly accelerate. Fuck, how many speed talismans does this guy have? A person with a broken leg looked at the 2 figures in horror. We have so many top-notch experts, but he's actually fighting us alone. Who the hell is he? Chapter 1096. The Speed Talisman, which didn't consume any spiritual power, was paired with the low-consumption puppet technique and bone-crushing fist. Lu Chen lasted longer than anyone else on the field. Those people watched helplessly as this guy defeated Tang Yu and several other experts. They didn't even have the will to fight anymore. This guy is cheating. Not good, he's coming. Run. Speed talismans can be used like this? Puppets can be used like this? That guy from the Demonic Academy isn't human at all. Now Lu Chen and his evil spirits chased after the group of people, as if they were in a no-man's land. In the end, they discovered that their 1 or 2 displacement skills couldn't outrun Lu Chen, who was constantly accelerating. What awaited them was only their bones being crushed by the bone-crushing fist. In less than half an hour, Lu Chen took care of more than 200 people who appeared, except for a few who ran away. Lu Chen dragged this group of people to the level 5 treasure chest, and began to search through them one by one. Without a doubt, Lu Chen's following equipment and skills were completely replaced. Seeing this, the disciples of the Demonic Academy already knew that the outcome was already decided. The Speed Talisman, paired with the bone-crushing fist, was invincible. If he was given a set of top-level equipment, that guy would jump from the most miserable one to the strongest one. Well, this chainmail has good defense. I'll change it. Lu Chen threw away his armor. Dazzling gold and silver snake sword? It's crooked and doesn't fit. I don't want it. This water-repelling sword is better. There's also a blazing sky spear, paired with the scattered essence spirit energy cannon just now. I like this. Unfortunately, I don't have enough backpacks. Forget it, I don't want a long-range one. This puppet seems to be a bit stronger. It doesn't take up a backpack, so I can bring 2 puppets. In the grass, the group of people trembled in fear when they heard Lu Chen talking to himself about upgrading equipment. That guy now had 2 puppets, a Pichio battle pet and a purple-scaled azure python battle pet. Although his weapon was only the water-repelling sword, and he had only switched to 2 sword techniques, the overall number of puppets didn't increase. But the most important thing was that even if he didn't pick up the weapon, he still didn't throw away the Speed Talisman. 2 puppets, 2 battle pets, and himself. If all of them were to use the Speed Rune, it would be a disaster. Aya, my bag isn't enough. I can't throw away the Speed Talisman. Forget it, I don't want the recovery pills either. Damn, this is so annoying. I still have to open a level 5 treasure chest. Lu Chen impatiently looked at the level 5 treasure chest behind him, his face filled with displeasure. Forget it, I won't open it. It's too troublesome to change it back and forth. So be it. The group of people gritted their teeth and stomped their feet. That fellow is actually too lazy to open a level 5 treasure chest? He must be crazy. Impossible, he must be trying to lure me out. Otherwise, why would someone not open a level 5 treasure chest? Once the looting was over, Lu Chen asked the battle puppet to help him gather the 5 level 5 treasure chests in the final battlegrounds. He didn't open the treasure chest. Instead, he looked around and then disappeared into the bushes. Puzzled, Xiner asked her father, "Father, he actually didn't open a level 5 treasure chest. He even left in front of so many people. Who wouldn't know that he must be lying in ambush nearby?" The man frowned slightly. This fellow has such a deep strategy. Father, what do you mean? The man said, Xine, let me ask you. If you were lying in ambush at the final battlegrounds, what would you be thinking right now? Me? Xiner frowned and tried to get herself into the environment set by her father. Solipsistic's strength has been exposed. I probably can't beat him. Although we're in the top 10 of the Prodigy competition, the current situation is that all of us might become his hunting targets. Xiner said. When the time comes, no one can be sure that they'll be in the top 10. But if I can get the item in the level 5 treasure chest, maybe I'll have a chance. But that fellow might be lying in ambush nearby. If I go out now, I might be eliminated by him. But if I don't go out, I can only be passive. The more Xiner thought, the tighter her frown. Suddenly, Xiner looked at her father. Father, it's so hard to choose. I don't know what to do. The man nodded. Yes. That's the effect he wants. He's constantly exerting psychological pressure on all the lurkers. You just thought for a while and found it hard to choose. Think about those people. They're hiding in the surroundings, staring at the level 5 treasure chest. How painful would that be? This. Exiner was stunned. She never thought that solipsistic's seemingly meaningless actions would have such a deep meaning. Moreover, the man continued, as long as the others don't take the level 5 treasure chest, he's completely capable of keeping his position. At the same time, he can make people forget to join forces to deal with him. Exian. If it weren't for these 5 treasure chests, would you have thought of joining forces to eliminate solipsistic first? Exian nodded heavily and said seriously, yes, he's putting too much pressure on everyone. If there's no hope, he'll let the others temporarily join forces. That's right. Lone Tyrant left them with a sliver of hope. That's right. Oh my God. Exire exclaimed. This guy is really too scary. At the same time, in the demonic academy, many disciples were having a similar discussion. The dean is really a master of psychological tactics. It's really scary to encounter such an opponent. Grasping the enemy's mentality so tightly that they hate him but don't dare to attack him. Now that I think about it, if I were a contestant, I'd be at a loss. Only Little Beast was frowning. Looking at the seniors around him who were discussing seriously, everyone couldn't hold it in anymore. I say, you're thinking too much. Didn't my dad say that he found it troublesome? That's impossible. He's too lazy to open a level 5 treasure chest. That's a bit too much. Many people questioned. Little Beast shook his head. If you don't believe me, ask Sister Green. No one knows my dad better than her and Xiaomin. Everyone quickly ran in front of Louis. Even a sea of clouds and Etion were asking. Louis was a bit embarrassed. Well, based on my understanding of Boss, I think you're thinking too much. He didn't open the level 5 treasure chest probably because everyone's eyes were fixed on Louis. Because he's too lazy to open it. Louis finally said the answer. Too lazy to open it. The group of people's eyes almost popped out. Was it really as the dean said? Louis nodded. Boss probably doesn't care what skills others get. He's been combining skills for so long. With his personality, he's probably too lazy to change them. The reason why he gathered the treasure chests together, if I'm not wrong, is because he wants others to quickly appear and snatch the treasure chests so that the prodigy competition can end sooner. That. A sea of clouds didn't know what to say for a moment. Everyone felt that Nameless had played a big game of chess, but in reality, Nameless just didn't want to waste time. Sure enough, after Lu Chen left the treasure chest, he didn't pay attention to it at all. Under the protection of 2 puppets and 2 battle pets, he was lying on the grass, resting. When Exianer saw this, she turned to look at her father. Dad, your analysis just now. The middle-aged man was silent for a long time before he finally said, this guy doesn't play by the rules. Chapter 1097. For the people lurking in the bushes, every minute and every second was torture. They could only stare at the 5 level 5 treasure chests lying there, not daring to appear. Due to Lu Chen's strength, people's desire for the level 5 treasure chests was even stronger. Their current ranking was completely dependent on whether Lu Chen would discover them or not. This feeling was unbearable for these powerhouses. What's more, all 5 treasure chests were there. There were top-notch equipment and skills. They were like extremely tempting beauties, constantly teasing them. This mental torture lasted for an unknown period of time. Finally, someone couldn't bear it anymore. A person quickly used displacement and rushed toward the treasure chests. After the first person appeared, Lu Chen actually didn't appear? Seeing that the person was about to test the treasure chests, another figure finally flashed out. With the few people in front probing, everyone was shocked to find that the person who had been speeding up actually didn't intercept them at all. This time, the entire battlefield was suddenly in an uproar. More and more people appeared, all for the sake of fighting for the level 5 treasure chests and changing their fate. Hundreds of people had been eliminated in just a dozen minutes of chaotic battle. The Oriole stalks the cicada, unaware of the mantis behind. Just as this wave of chaotic battle was coming to an end, another large group of people came out of the bushes. The chaotic battle continued. Lu Chen hid far away. In any case, the prodigy competition's final ranking was not based on the number of people eliminated, so he didn't want to participate in this chaotic battle at all. However, even though Lu Chen had hidden far enough, he was still discovered. "I'll kill you first." A voice suddenly came from behind. The two battle pets and two puppets in front of Lu Chen were disturbed by this passionate roar and stood up. Lu Chen also looked back in surprise. The person who came was a middle-aged demon spirit man, holding two swords and with red eyes. However, when he saw Lu Chen's two battle pets and two puppets, as well as Lu Chen's surprised gaze, he suddenly froze. In the next second, he quickly changed directions, passed by Lu Chen, and rushed into the chaotic crowd. "I'll kill." That person's voice gradually faded away. Lu Chen frowned slightly. He thought that he had met an expert, but he didn't expect that he was just passing by. However, those people still started to fight in the end. Otherwise, if they all hid in the bushes, who knew how long the prodigy competition would drag on? The situation at the battlefield was extremely intense. Batch after batch of people were eliminated. The moment someone approached the level 5 treasure chest, they would be surrounded and attacked. Half an hour later, Lu Chen checked the number of people. There were still more than 900 people. "Let's wait a little longer," Lu Chen said. 10 minutes later, only 400 people remained in the genius competition. At this moment, a participant successfully snatched a level 5 treasure chest. As he fought fiercely with his opponent, he approached the treasure chest seemingly unintentionally. Then he quickly unleashed his combat power and defeated his opponent. Then he took the opportunity to quickly snatch the treasure chest behind him. Many of the audience members were impressed by his calmness. "They're from the Heavenly Music Parlor. They've handled the details beautifully. Holy shit, a magical treasure has appeared. There are also recovery pills and a Qilin battle pet. A divine beast has appeared. A battle pet is definitely the most useful skill here." The level 5 treasure chest didn't disappoint. In the Heavenly Music Parlor's main hall, the audience was even more excited. Their representative was the first to snatch a treasure chest. "Not bad. The items in this treasure chest are very powerful. Luo He has become a strong contender for first place. Luo He majored in beast taming. This time with the Qilin, he can finally unleash his true strength. Nameless has 2 battle pets and 2 puppets, but their attributes are not on the same level as the Qilin. Even if he uses the speed talisman, he might not be able to win. Plus, Luo He's combat power is extremely strong. Nameless is going to pay the price for his arrogance." As the number of survivors increased, there were more opportunities to fight for the level 5 treasure chest. Not long after, the representative of the Flood Immortal sect was sent flying by a punch and bumped into the treasure chest. He quickly got up and opened the treasure chest. Then he used the Swallow Reverse Instantaneous Slash that he had just learned to kill his opponent. Before he could be surrounded, he opened the treasure chest and quickly retreated. Then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th treasure chests were divided among the participants. However, apart from the representatives of the Heavenly Music Parlor and the Flood Immortal sect, the others only touched the treasure chests and took 1 or 2 items before they were surrounded. They could only divide the remaining 3 treasure chests among themselves. On the other hand, the representatives of the Heavenly Music Parlor and the Flood Immortal sect, after a short period of adjustment, once again entered the battleground as super powerful warriors. As super powerful warriors with many level 5 treasure chests, the 2 eliminated dozens of people quickly, as if by prior agreement. The 2 of them set their sights on those who had found a small number of level 5 items. After a series of chaotic battles, the 2 of them collected more advanced equipment and gradually became monsters. In the meantime, Lu Chen saw that the number of participants had finally decreased from 900 to 100. Then there were only 50 participants left. Congratulations, you have made it to the top 50 of this year's competition. When there were only 50 participants left, the stage had undergone a drastic change. The weeds on the ground had all disappeared. The ground of the battleground had turned into a huge arena paved with black rocks. In such an environment, it was no longer possible to hide. Then several portals suddenly appeared. A few people were teleported to the battleground with dumbfounded expressions. At the same time, a voice came from above the battleground. The weak have no right to be rewarded. All the surviving participants have been teleported to the battleground. If you leave the battleground now, you will be considered eliminated. Lu Chen already understood that such a rule was targeted at those who wanted to survive until the end of the competition. You could make it to the top 50, but there would be no reward for the top 50. If you wanted to make it to the top 10, you would have to have the ability to fight head-on. However, there were only 50 participants left. They were not far from the top 10. It was not an exaggeration to say that this was the final battle. At that moment, several figures suddenly dashed toward Lu Chen from afar. Lu Chen quickly controlled the battle pet puppet to dodge while he moved away to put some distance between himself and the two of them. With two bangs, the place where Lu Chen had been standing was hit by 3 attacks. Gravel was sent flying everywhere. Lu Chen frowned as he looked at the two people standing in front of him. They were the representatives of the Heavenly Music Pavilion and the Hongxian sect. The two monsters in legendary equipment had tacitly chosen to attack Lu Chen first. "Hey kid," the representative of the Heavenly Music Pavilion glared at Lu Chen coldly. "The 5th-rank treasure chest was right in front of you and you didn't open it. I'm sorry, but I'm not afraid of you in my current state." The representative of the Hongxian sect squinted his eyes. "This is what you get for being so arrogant. Once I finish you off, Songyun and I will be able to fight for the top 10 with peace of mind." Lu Chen frowned. "Are you sure you want to challenge me so early? Isn't it wiser for us to make it to the top 10 first and then fight each other later?" "Top 10? Kid, do you think we will let you make it to the top 10? We had to put up with your arrogance because we couldn't deal with your attacks. But I don't want to put up with it anymore," Songyun said angrily. "That's right. You humiliated us with the treasure chest. You didn't think that we would be able to make it to the top 10, did you?" Lu Chen couldn't help but sneer. "You think too much. I just didn't want to change my outfit. Anyway, the items in the chest aren't attractive to me. I might as well let you out so that the competition can end sooner." Lu Chen moved his right hand. The two puppets were ready for battle, and the two battle pets were ready to fight. Lu Chen smiled and said coldly, "Judging by the intensity of the competition, no matter what skills you get, the top 10 will be mine." Chapter 1098. The other contestants were having exciting fights. However, people knew that the battle between Solipsistic and the other two would determine the winner. It was unknown how many pairs of eyes were watching this battle. Lu Chen controlled the two battle pets and the two puppets to deal with the Kirin while he dashed toward Song Yun. "Good timing," Song Yun shouted. "Silent falling leaves." Song Yun began to teleport. The silent falling leaves couldn't teleport far, but it could be used in multiple stages and the cooldown time was fast. "My silent falling leaves is designed to counter your speed talisman." Song Yun snorted. "Repelling shot." With that said, a cannonball dashed toward Lu Chen. Lu Chen quickly used his body technique to dodge. In the meantime, the man from the Hue Immortal sect had finished charging. "Kid, remember not to be so arrogant." Scorching Sun Wild Saber. Dozens of saber lights crisscrossed and chased after Lu Chen's landing point. Right then, the two puppets suddenly left the battle between the Kirin and stood on either side of the man from the Hue Immortal sect. The two puppets pulled at the same time. Reverse traction. Reverse traction meant that the puppets were pulling the puppets in the opposite direction. The puppets had speed talisman effects, and so did Lu Chen. For a moment his speed was boosted. While dodging the scorching sun slash, Lu Chen was closing in on his opponent. The man from the Hue Immortal sect opened his eyes wide. He had thought that Solipsistic would only have one more helper since he had two puppets. However, he didn't expect that one more puppet would increase Su Ping's agility. "You want to get close to me? In your dreams." Scorching Sun Wild Saber. Annihilating Sun Chop. That person waved the treasured saber in his hand and sent out a vertical saber chi while retreating quickly. However, as soon as he stopped, he noticed that the two puppets were still close to him. Lu Chen sneered. "You can't get away." With that said, Su Ping used Jiang Qingyan to teleport 3 times in a row. With the help of the puppets, he was able to teleport 5 or 6 times. It was hard to track his movements. He was about to reach Su Ping. When Song Yun saw this, he shouted, "Kill the puppets first." Then he controlled the Kirin to pounce on one of the puppets. However, on Lu Chen's side, Swanni and the green-scaled Snake King constantly relied on their speed advantage to entangle the Qilin, making it unable to provide support in time. Damn it! That guy's 2 battle pets aren't attacking. They are just trying their best to distract Kirin so that he can't get away. Since Kirin couldn't help him, Song Yun had to do it himself. However, during the chase, the advantage of his silent leaves turned into a disadvantage. Although Silent Falling Leaf could teleport multiple times, he was clearly lacking in strength. After all, the distance he could teleport to was too short. No, I have to destroy one of his puppets first. Grey Cloud had already made up his mind. He used his second teleportation skill. Instant change. This time, the long-distance blink skill allowed him to get close to a puppet. Die. Cold Ice Dragon Taming Sword. Song Yun stabbed out with his sword. Mogard Shield. The puppet immediately activated its defensive skill, but because Song Yun's attack was too strong, although the puppet wasn't destroyed, it was still sent flying. So weak. Song Yun cursed in a low voice. He was about to go after the puppet when he looked up and was stunned. He didn't know when it started, but he was already surrounded by the other party's triangle. The puppet that he had just sent flying was about to stand up. The 2 puppets and the young man had surrounded him. Lu Chen looked at Song Yun with a creepy smile. Don't you pay attention to your own position when you attack? Do you think I only attack your companions? How naive. Sure enough, some people get carried away when they attack. After saying that, Lu Chen quickly added dozens of speed talismans to the puppet and himself. I spent some time studying the puppet control technique of the new puppet, and found that it seems to be able to set up a good attack and killing array, just in time to see the effect. Lu Chen snorted. 3-way connection. The 2 puppets, plus Lu Chen's 3 points, all had a connection with each other. The positions of the 3 points began to attract each other, and together with their own movements, they became unpredictable. Solitary Swift Shadow. Lu Chen yelled in a low voice, and his speed suddenly increased. Solitary Tree Swift Shadow was a movement skill, but with the cooperation of the 2 puppets, Lu Chen's movements became extremely strange, without any pattern to speak of. Although Lu Chen didn't move in a straight line, his speed wasn't slow at all. Suddenly, a figure flashed in front of Song Yun. He was wearing the words, Zhongxiange Demonic Academy, on his chest. I said that no matter what skill you get, the result will be the same. Lu Chen yelled in a low voice. Speed Talisman Bone-Shattering Fist. With a boom, the punches landed on the Flood Immortal Sex Expert's protective shield. You didn't expect me to have a protective shield, right? Song Yun smiled proudly. You're not the only one who can surprise others. Lu Chen snorted coldly and said, How many times can a protective shield save you? Speed Talisman Bone-Shattering Fist. Lu Chen used his advantage in speed to quickly circle around Song Yun's back and attack him again. The 2 puppets continuously assisted Lu Chen in changing his position. This scene simply stunned everyone present. Are you kidding me? The puppets are controlling the puppeteer? I've never seen such a strange puppetry technique. Reverse traction can be used like this? This is the first time I've seen it. That guy is really a battle prodigy. His speed is already very fast. Combined with the reverse traction from afar, his movements are even harder to track. That guy's adaptability in battle is like his body's instinct. He probably wanted to trap the person from the Flood Immortal sect. When he saw that the Heavenly Music Pavilion came to rescue him, he immediately changed his strategy and trapped him in an instant. Song Yun was suffering. He was supposed to rescue his comrade from the Flood Immortal sect, but now he was in a fierce battle. His protective shield's level was very high, and it blocked 3 to 4 bone-shattering fists at the same time. However, that guy's attack speed was extremely fast, and his attributes were not low. His protective shield was eventually penetrated. The protective shield is gone. In the Heavenly Music Pavilion's main hall, everyone stood up anxiously from their seats. At this moment of life and death, Song Yun shouted, "Speed talisman! Spiritual explosives!" Song Yun's main occupation was an explosives expert. However, to everyone's surprise, he actually left behind an explosive skill that was rarely used by explosives experts. He threw out more than 10 cannonballs at the same time, and a series of loud explosions erupted in the arena. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions created a terrifying spiritual energy fluctuation, causing the battlefield to become even more chaotic. However, just when everyone thought that Song Yun had escaped, a white light suddenly flashed, and a low voice shouted, "Trying to escape in the chaos? You don't know that I love chaos the most. Tai Chi Sword Shadow." Then, in the midst of the explosion, a thin and sharp sword aura directly pierced through Song Yun's body. Chapter 1099. Since Song Yun had been eliminated, the Kirin had lost its ability to fight as well. The only one left was the one from the Hongxian sect. As for Lu Chun, he had 2 battle pets, 2 puppets, and Lu Chun himself. There was no doubt about the outcome of the match. Lu Chun and the other 4 launched fierce attacks at the same time. That person struggled for only a few minutes before he was eliminated. The 2 of them had taken most of the items in the 5th level treasure chest. However, they were still defeated by Lu Chun. Inside the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the masters beat their chests and stamped their feet. Why did Song Yun have to go after Nameless? Even if he wanted to, he should have waited until he was in the top 10. That's right. As long as they can avoid Nameless, they will definitely be in the top 10. No, the top 5, or even the top 3. Just for the sake of getting first place. I don't even have the reward now. What a double loss. No matter how upset they were, Song Yun had been eliminated. Of the remaining people, no one was a match for Lu Chun. Sure enough, after Lu Chun eliminated a few more people, there was only one person left in the decisive battle. Lu Chun looked around. Some people's corpses had not been teleported away in time, but there were no other competitors except for himself. Congratulations, you have won first place in this year's competition. In 3 minutes, you will be teleported back to the preparation area. Your battle pets and puppets will not be taken away. Lu Chun smiled. Finally, it was over. He patted Swan Xiao and the purple-scaled Snake King and nodded to the 2 puppets. Thank you. It's a pity that I can't take you away. At the moment, in the Demonic Academy, the Black Armor King was checking the accounts. As he did so, he laughed in a terrifying way. Roar, 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 roar. I've made a fortune. I've made a fortune. I've never seen so much money in my life. Ha 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 ha. I told you to be careful, but you didn't listen to me. Look at you now. Ha 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 ha. A small number of people who had made it to the top 10 were overjoyed. However, most of them were currently experiencing the darkest moment of their lives. I suddenly missed the dean who couldn't even breathe when he walked. After saying that, Xiao Zhan's expression turned sluggish. 8 million, all gone. He had originally wanted to make a huge profit, but now he was the one who suffered the most. Yi Fan took out his account book. It seemed that the 70,000 spirit stones that he had painstakingly saved up were going to be lost. Why did I choose the one with the lowest odds and the safest odds, yet still lose everything? Yi Fan did not understand. Chu Tian shook his head and sighed. A pack of speed talismans can turn the tables? There's no justice in this world. In the distance, the Black Armor King was shouting loudly, "Junior brothers and sisters who need money recently, if your life is too tight, you can borrow from me. The interest is very low, come and take a look." Yi Fan put down the account book, sighed, and went to line up to borrow money again. He, who was about to reach the shore, once again stepped into the abyss. Just as everyone in the academy was busy settling the accounts, someone suddenly shouted, "Look, someone's causing trouble." Everyone hurriedly looked at the screen. Lu Chun was sent back to the preparation area. As soon as he appeared, he was immediately surrounded by a group of people. Lu Chun looked at the group of fiendish people staring at him in surprise. He frowned slightly. "The competition is over. What are you doing, kid?" A person pushed aside the people in front of him and rushed in front of Lu Chun. Lu Chun looked over. It was Song Yun. Song Yun said angrily, "So what if it's the prodigy competition? There's too much chance here. My real strength is not something that the prodigy competition can compare to. Didn't you discover the use of the speed talisman and take first place? You're just 1-star Emperor Xiao. Do you know what level I am? You actually snatched the first place of the Tianjiao tournament from me. I don't accept this. Song Yun gritted his teeth in anger. Not only Song Yun, but there were also many people glaring angrily at Lu Chen. Someone from a broken academy can take first place? Did you get news from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace and know how powerful the speed talisman is, so you purposely collected it? That's right. Otherwise, who would be stupid enough to leave behind so many speed talismans instead of skills and recovery pills? What right does this kind of trash have to take first place? It was the prodigy competition just now. Outside the arena, you're nothing. Celestial Fortress's representative had just taken first place in the top 10. Just as he was feeling excited, he suddenly noticed the commotion and stretched his neck to look over. A group of people was surrounding Nameless. After taking a closer look, Celestial Fortress's representative widened his eyes, his face full of horror. No way. Forget about the prodigy competition. They actually dared to provoke Nameless in real life? This is crazy. They were strong in real life? What a joke. Nameless' real strength was at the peak of level 6. Lu Chen did not intend to make a move. He chuckled. I was wondering what was wrong with you guys. So it's because you can't afford to lose. You guys are strong in real life. What does that have to do with me? It's fine as long as I win the competition. Lu Chen snorted coldly and turned to leave. You want to leave? Tell me clearly, did you cheat or not? A palm pressed on Lu Chen's shoulder. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at the hand on his shoulder. His voice suddenly turned cold. What? Do you want to fight? Let's fight then. I'm full of anger from the prodigy competition. Now that I'm finally out, I can teach trash like you a lesson. With that, the person was about to raise his hand. Suddenly, Lu Chen grabbed that person's wrist and slowly turned around. The one who led the group to provoke him was Heavenly Music Parlor's representative, Song Yun. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. I'll warn you again. If you insist on finding trouble, you may die. You can be arrogant in the prodigy competition. Outside, I'll let you know who's the boss. Song Yun shouted angrily. Since I have nothing left, I won't come here in vain if I cripple you. The number 1. Celestial Demon Symbiosis. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice and directly entered battle mode. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body emitted a terrifying spiritual energy. At this moment, Lu Chen was completely different from the ordinary man from before. At this moment a voice shouted loudly, Mr. Nameless, please have mercy. Then a purple figure flashed from afar. However, Lu Chen had no intention of stopping. Sky-breaking sword. With a flash of white light, Lu Chen was already standing behind Song Yun. However, Song Yun didn't even have a chance to react. Until now, the only change was that the ferocious look in his eyes had turned into a look of terror. This was 1-star Emperor Xiao's strength. Impossible. He did not even use a weapon. A moment later, Song Yun's arms were directly cut off. Lu Chen did not even turn his head and said coldly, Remember, I'm someone you can't afford to offend. In front of the screen, Exiner's breathing was rapid. Looking at the handsome yet ruthless man, her mind went blank. Chapter 1100. Exiner's eyes widened. Was the handsome man in the image really the cute solipsistic emperor from before? No, definitely not. When he was serious, it was scary. Solipsistic emperor still showed mercy. At this moment, her father's voice came from behind. He didn't take Song Yun's life in the end, and his arms can be reattached. But this way, no one should be dissatisfied with him anymore. As he said that, the man couldn't help but find it funny. Talking about real combat strength with solipsistic emperor? Isn't that courting death? Before the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace could arrive, Song Yun's arms had been chopped off. Of course, even if they arrived, Lu Chen probably wouldn't stop. He had already warned them twice, and this was already unprecedented. In the end, they didn't believe him, so there was nothing he could do. Those looking for trouble looked at Lu Chen in horror. Just now Lu Chen didn't activate soul body as one, but his speed was so fast that they couldn't react. He had only chopped off Song Yun's arms. If he had stabbed his heart or spirit core, Song Yun would be a dead man now. A one-star Emperor Xiao could make them all unable to react in time. What kind of terrifying combat strength was that? Who is he? Lu Chen couldn't be bothered to explain. He just looked at the crowd. Is there anyone else looking for trouble? No one dared to answer Lu Chen. At this moment, the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace walked in front of Lu Chen. He glanced at Song Yun, whose arms had been chopped off, and shook his head. He was still too slow. Nameless Emperor's speed was too fast. Just a celestial demon symbiosis and a sky-piercing sword was enough to leave him far behind. Mr. Nameless, the prodigy competition has ended, and the prizes will be sent to Zhongxiange. However, our palace master wants to meet you. Is it convenient for Mr. Nameless? Lu Chen exited the celestial demon symbiosis state and said, I also want to ask the palace master some questions. Senior, please lead the way. Lu Chen followed that person into an independent teleportation gate. Coming out of the portal, Lu Chen found himself standing on a platform suspended in midair. This is the teleportation platform. Sir, please follow me to the main hall of the Heavenly Palace. The man bowed slightly and made an inviting gesture. Space shuttles. Lu Chen was a little suspicious until he saw hundreds of space shuttles docked at the edge of the platform. It was not easy for him to obtain a Mount Magic treasure, but in the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, it was actually just a public transportation tool. This Royal Heaven Immortal Palace was truly generous. The two of them stepped onto a shuttle, and the shuttle automatically flew towards an immortal island in the sky. Along the way, Lu Chen discovered that although the immortal islands here were also floating in the sky, there were no chains connecting them to each other. It was somewhat different from the immortal mountains of Zhongxiange. It was as if these immortal mountains were suspended in midair by some kind of power. On each of the immortal islands, there were palaces built with bricks. All of the immortal islands were like grand open-air palaces. 10 minutes later, Lu Chen and that person arrived at the Royal Heavenly Great Hall together. At this moment, there were already two people waiting in the Great Hall. Sir Nameless, these two are our Royal Heaven Immortal Palace's Palace Lord, Immortal Master Taihao, and his daughter, Tianxing. The guide did not continue to lead the way, but only introduced the two of them from afar. Sir Nameless, it's not convenient for me to enter the Great Hall. Please follow me. Lu Chen did not know their rules, so he nodded and said, Thank you, Senior. I'll go over myself. With that, he walked over. From afar, the middle-aged man looked quite sage-like. He was dressed in a white robe and had a long beard. At this moment, he was looking at him with a smile. His daughter had a purple veil on her face, leaving only a pair of lively eyes. Her figure was graceful, but Lu Chen was too embarrassed to stare, so he did not take a closer look. Lu Chen walked in front of the two of them and cupped his fists. Nameless greets Immortal Master Taihao and Miss Tianxing. Before Taihao could speak, his daughter said disdainfully, Nameless? Do you think I don't know that you're Lu Chen? Lu Chen was stunned. What was going on? Speaking of which, he did mention his name to Li Wei back then. At that time, he was in a life-or-death situation, so he just wanted to prove that he had been here before. But how did this girl know? Moreover, from the way she spoke to him, it did not seem like it was the first time they had met. Lu Chen looked at the girl. Her eyes were as bright as the stars, and her pupils were a rare light purple. He did not seem to have seen this person before. Xing. Taihao pretended to be angry and shouted at his daughter, Nonsense! Xiner shrunk her neck and glared at Lu Chen bitterly. Her glare made Lu Chen feel confused. Taihao smiled at Nameless. My daughter is naughty. I have spoiled her. Nameless, please don't take offense. Lu Chen naturally would not be unhappy about this. He smiled and said, Senior, you're too serious. May I know why you're looking for me? Taihao smiled and nodded. Nameless, I want to ask you a question. Please ask, Senior. How confident are you in ascending and becoming an immortal? Lu Chen was stunned. He did not expect Taihao to ask this question. Lu Chen himself had not thought about this question. To be honest, I don't know either. You killed the king of hell, demon supremacy. What do you think your strength ranks in the current 6th heaven? Luqian answered, about the top 100. Oh. Tai Hao looked at Luqian in surprise. The king of hell is the strongest in the underworld. You killed him. Why do you think you're only in the top 100? Is this your true opinion? Luqian answered calmly. I killed the king of hell because I had the advantage of the earth fire. He was afraid of the earth fire and naturally restrained himself. Also, I am not weakened by the underworld. This is something others cannot compare to. The 6th heaven is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. However, after entering the underworld, they will be greatly weakened. If it was a fair fight, I think I'm not the only one who can kill the king of hell. After listening to Lu Chen's analysis, Tai Hao's eyes were filled with admiration. At such a young age, you are neither arrogant nor impatient. Your vision is indeed extraordinary. However, your analysis is only half correct. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Senior, please enlighten me. Tai Hao put his hands behind his back and looked at the clouds in the distance. Actually, in the 6th heaven and even in the underworld, you are not the only one who has the ability to kill the king of hell. However, you're the only one who's going to do it. Some people are focused on becoming immortals and have no time to care about these trivial matters. However, some people can't wait for the world to be in chaos. They have the ability to protect themselves. Why would they bother to kill the king of hell? Tai Hao looked at Lu Chen meaningfully. When you reach a high enough realm, you only have eyes for immortals. Suddenly, Tai Hao changed the topic. Speaking of which, it's interesting. Not being compassionate is also a necessary condition to pass the tribulation. Lu Chen frowned. A necessary condition to pass the tribulation. In other words, Tai Hao was telling him that in his current state, he could not pass the tribulation successfully. Lu Chen suddenly said, could it be that I have to cut off my emotions and desires to pass the tribulation? Tai Hao shook his head. It's not that absolute. However, you have to know that the more difficult it is to cut off the fetters in your heart, the more terrifying the tribulation you will suffer. The so-called emotions and desires are just obstacles in your pursuit of the great Tao. I know you are also a sentimental person, so you don't have to pass the tribulation to become immortal and go to the 7th heaven. After Tai Hao finished speaking, he stared at Lu Chen. Tian Xian did the same. They were nervously observing Lu Chen's every move and subtle expression. After a long silence, Lu Chen finally raised his head. Senior Tai Hao asked me to come here to tell me this. Thank you for the reminder. Then Lu Chen changed the topic. However, I will not let go of my emotions and desires. I will not stop at the 6th heaven. As for the powerful tribulation, Lu Chen snorted. I will break it. Chapter 1101. Tai Hao looked at Lu Chen and frowned slightly. You really don't plan to stay in the 6th heaven? Even if the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace wants to recruit you? I can tell you responsibly that no one in the 6th heaven can defeat the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. If you're willing to stay, your demonic academy can develop independently from the Zhongxian Ge. I can even arrange a new continent for you and let the demonic academy become the headquarters. You know how many resources the headquarters has. Actually, if you're willing, you can even become the future master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Lu Chen frowned. Tai Hao's offer was too scary. The master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace? He wanted to take him in as a disciple and give him the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. At this time, Tai Hao revealed his real purpose, which was to recruit Lu Chen. Lu Chen didn't hesitate at all in the face of such a tempting offer. Thank you for your kindness, Senior Tai Hao, but the 6th heaven isn't my end. As for the demonic academy, I believe that the disciples of the academy will make the demonic academy famous in the world one day. Suppression couldn't stop Lu Chen, and neither could the temptation of benefits. Tai Hao was silent for a moment. Looking at Lu Chen's determined gaze, he sighed softly. Looks like you've made up your mind. The girl beside Tai Hao's eyes dimmed a little. Her father did want to take in Nameless as a disciple. She knew that it wasn't just because of Solipsistic's heaven-defying strength and performance in the prodigy competition, but also because of her. However, Nameless' answer left no room for discussion. Even though she knew that Nameless didn't have much interaction with her and didn't even know her identity, Tian Xian was still a little disappointed. Seeing that the other party was no longer talking about the recruitment, Lu Chen said, "Senior Taihao, in fact, I also have two things that I would like to ask you about." "Oh, what is it?" Taihao asked. "The first thing is, I wonder if Senior Taihao knows about the Thunder Academy." "Thunder Academy?" Taihao recalled and said, "Oh, I remember now. That's the academy from the Immortal Pavilion. Their strength is always in the top 3 in the Kunlun continent." Lu Chen sighed in his heart. The people in the mountains gave him 2 academies to choose from, but he had to meet the bankrupt academy. If he had joined the Thunder Academy from the start, how comfortable his life would be. However, this time, he finally knew the location of the Thunder Academy. When he had time, he would go and take a look. "Why are you interested in the Thunder Academy?" Taihao looked at Lu Chen. "Oh, it's nothing, a friend." Lu Chen casually made up an excuse. "There is another matter I wish to ask Senior about. How can I obtain Immortal Academy's qualifications?" Taihao explained at Immortal Academy. That requires your academy to reach the level of Sacred Academy. When you reach the Sacred Academy, your 9-path star map formation will be activated. There are a total of 81 pathways in the star map formation. Each pathway has 81 checkpoints. The difficulty of the checkpoints on each pathway increases with each level. There are a total of 6,561 checkpoints. Each disciple can only challenge the star map formation once. No matter if they succeed or not, they can't challenge it again. When all the checkpoints are cleared, your academy will have its own star map and naturally become Immortal Academy. Of course, don't underestimate each checkpoint. Even if it's the easiest checkpoint, normal people who haven't reached the Mortal King realm shouldn't waste their chance to pass it. Although your academies are very talented, but I don't need you to let them pass the checkpoints rashly. Taihao added in the end. Oh right, only disciples can pass the checkpoints. Instructors and deans can't pass the checkpoints. Lu Chen felt his scalp go numb. They had to become Sacred Academy first, and then let the students pass more than 6,000 checkpoints. The checkpoints could only be challenged at the Mortal King realm. The difficulty was unimaginable. No wonder there were so many 6th Heaven Academies, but only a few could reach Immortal Academy. That might be the result of thousands of years of accumulation. Lu Chen sighed, looking very disappointed. Nameless, why do you ask about Immortal Academy? Lu Chen shook his head. I want to go down to the lower realm once, but only Immortal Academy's teleportation gate can do that. I don't know how long I have to wait. Taihao couldn't help but laugh when he heard that. Ha ha ha, so you just want to go down to the lower realm. I thought you were going to do something big again. Nameless, isn't it just the lower realm? I can send you down here. Of course, if you don't want to owe me this favor, you just won the prodigy competition. Zhongxingge can't refuse, right? Letting you go down to the lower realm once. They can still do it. Lu Chen's eyes lit up when he heard that. Taihao could also see that Lu Chen was in a hurry to leave. He took out a token from his backpack and handed it to Lu Chen. Nameless, this is my Emperor Heaven Immortal Palace's token. Even if you don't want to stay, one more friend means one more path. If you have time, come and visit more often. There are people here who welcome you very much. Taihao's gaze clearly glanced at Tian Xian as he spoke, and his tone was also strange. Lu Chen blinked his eyes. Was there a friend of his here? He didn't see any. However, Taihao had always been very polite to him, and Lu Chen didn't mind having more friends, so he took the token. All right, I see that you seem to have something urgent, so I won't keep you. I'll have Dong Chu bring you to the teleportation platform. You can directly teleport back to Zhongxingge. After Lu Chen bid farewell to the two of them, he saw that Dong Chu was still waiting for him outside the palace, so he followed him onto the shuttle and headed to the teleportation platform. A golden fish is not a fish in a pond. Taihao looked at Tian Xian. I've tried my best. I've forgotten how long it's been since I begged someone to join the immortal palace, but I was still rejected. Tion Xi, kept looking at that figure from afar. That man killed the king of hell, but didn't leave his name. He didn't care about fame or how others saw him. In the prodigy competition, he easily won despite being at an extreme disadvantage. The domineering and arrogant performance in the competition simply made her heart flutter. When she thought of his usual performance, it was hard for her to associate this super powerhouse with that silly boy. Her heart was filled with admiration and curiosity. This was the most important thing. Father, since you can't keep him, then I'll do it myself. With that, Xian ran out of the palace. Xian, where are you going? The 36 stratagems, the honey trap. Xian's answer came from afar. Taihao frowned. This girl was so proactive? However, if he could take Nameless for his own use, he wouldn't object. Moreover, judging from Nameless' character, it should be safe for his daughter to go to him. His only worry was, honey trap? Are you sure this trick will work on Nameless? Chapter 1102. When Lu Chen returned to Zhongxiange, Mabe and the rest of the Sengoku welcomed him personally. Congratulations, brother Nameless, on your triumphant return. Mabe hurried over to Lu Chen, his face beaming. Originally, the immortal sovereign wanted to welcome you personally, but there was a last-minute meeting at the headquarters. He waited for you for a long time, but you didn't return, so he had to leave first. Lu Chen didn't mind at all, but when he saw Mabe's happy face, he couldn't help but want to give him a blow. I wanted to just get into the top 10, but you guys got lucky. There are 3 tribulation pills for first place, right? No, brother Nameless, it's true that we got 3 tribulation pills, but you can take a look at the resources we gave to the divine demons. It's definitely much more than what we promised you. Besides, your personal reward is quite a lot too. A tribulation transcendence pill, an immortal pill formula, 300,000 cash withdrawal tickets, 100,000 reputation points, and a high-grade cash withdrawal ticket. Even I'm jealous just looking at it. Huang Xian added. Nameless, we've already prepared food and wine for you to welcome you back. You've done us a great service. Lu Chen shook his head. Forget about the welcome dinner, but I do need you guys to do me a favor. Mabe and the rest stopped and looked at Lu Chen. Brother Nameless, if there's anything you need our help with, as long as it's within our abilities, we won't shirk away. From the looks of it, Zhongxiange completely understood now. Suppress Lu Chen? It's definitely better to rope him in. I want to descend to the lower realm once, Lu Chen said. Lower realm. Mabe frowned and thought for a while. This Lu Chen frowned. What's wrong? You can't arrange it? It's not that we can't arrange it. Our Zhongxiange's portal can descend to the lower realm, but the Jiutian has strict restrictions on the lower realm, so even we can't use the portal without permission. So? Lu Chen asked. Taihao had clearly said that Zhongxiange could descend to the lower realm. If they continued to find excuses, then Lu Chen would definitely not call Zhongxiange brothers anymore. Mabe said. Nameless brother, I can help you arrange the lower realm, but you have to defeat me and not disturb the overall situation of the lower realm. You also know that you have changed the rules of the heaven domain that you have passed through. I am really a little worried. Lu Chen smiled. So this was what Mabe was worried about. Fortunately, they didn't lie to him. It was normal for Mabe and the others to have such concerns. Don't worry, I'm just going to deal with a personal matter. I won't disturb the order of the lower realms. You can rest assured about that. Mabe looked at Lu Chen. Nameless rarely went back on his word. If you are going to deal with a personal matter, then I will arrange it immediately. I wonder how long Brother Nameless will be gone and when will you leave? Can you directly teleport to the second heaven? Lu Chen didn't want to be teleported from the 4th or 5th heaven to the second heaven. Of course, it would be best if they could go directly. Yes. Okay, I will go back to the academy to prepare first. We will leave in 3 days. Zhongxiange arranged for people to send the Demonic Academy's reward, Lu Chen's personal reward, and Lu Chen himself to the Demonic Academy. Sitting on the huge white crane, the dozen or so Zhongxiange disciples sat in the distance and looked at Lu Chen. Did he really just come to the sixth heaven for more than a year? He killed the king of hell and ranked first in the prodigy tournament. He is really strong. He is the strongest newcomer in the history of the sixth heaven. You saw his performance in the prodigy tournament. He is really not human. Oh, and in the preparation area, he cut off Zhongyan's arm. Don't be fooled by his good temper usually. When he is angry, it is really scary. A beautiful female disciple bravely walked to Lu Chen's side. Nameless Senior. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at her strangely. What is it? Being looked at by Lu Chen like this, the elf girl's face was boiling hot. Senior, I want to ask, how do you operate the puppet's reverse traction? I also have the reverse traction skill, but usually, I can only use it to change my position a few times. I can't do it like you, quickly switching back and forth with the puppet, and changing position multiple times. So she came to ask questions. Lu Chen smiled slightly. I am not a senior. Let's talk about it. Your problem should be that the use of spiritual power is not consistent enough. The root of the problem is that you are not prepared for your next move in advance. But in actual combat, how can you always maintain such a clear mind? After all, the enemy's movements are also changing. It is actually very simple. Keep suppressing the opponent, and make him move according to your thoughts. Naturally, you will have enough time to prepare for your next move in advance. The girl's eyes widened. In the prodigy tournament, they only saw Nameless' brilliant use of puppet techniques, but they did not expect that what they could not see was the most terrifying. They could imagine why Zhongyan was so angry. In the prodigy tournament, he was suppressed by Lu Chen everywhere. He was probably angry because he was suppressed. Nameless was easy to say, but thinking about it carefully, to be able to make the opponent move according to one's wishes, one must have a lot of combat experience to be able to do this. These Zhongxian good disciples, no matter which academy they went to, would be respectfully addressed as Immortal Master. But in front of Lu Chen, she felt that she was like a student, shocked speechless by the teacher's profound theory. The disciples of the demonic academy were all people with heaven-defying luck. Otherwise, how would they be able to join the demonic academy and have the opportunity to listen to such teachings? Most importantly, their dean was usually too amiable and approachable. She was so envious that she wanted to cry. That nameless dean, how is your academy's enrollment situation recently? The girl suddenly asked. Lu Chen shook his head. We could have entered the rankings long ago, but something happened in the underworld. During that period of time, we did not enroll students and wasted more than half a year. Recently, you also know that our academy does not have priority in enrolling students, and the number of students is not increasing quickly. It is already not bad if we can have 10 new students a day. The girl nodded and said blankly, Are you sure that your requirements are not too high? A lower academy that did not even have an enrollment office had hundreds of people lining up at the entrance to take the test every day. This kind of thing had never happened before. Not long after, they had already arrived at the demonic academy. Lu Chen was also full of joy. After all, this was his home in the sixth heaven. Little brats, you all missed me, right? The dean is back. Aha! When Yi Tian and a sea of clouds saw that Lu Chen had returned, they hurriedly went to the training field to welcome him. However, what made Lu Chen feel strange was that no one missed him. Other than Little Beast and a few students, he did not know where the students in the entire academy had gone. Even the welcoming team was made up of 2 or 3 kittens. Where is everyone? Lu Chen asked in surprise. They are all cultivating. A sea of clouds was speechless. Nameless, it's like this. Recently, we have opened up a few new businesses, and the students have all gone to do small jobs. Lu Chen was dumbfounded. Weren't they all too lazy to do work in the past? We even had to hire people from other academies. Why are they all so hardworking now? Right at this moment, the Black Armor King swaggered into the training field. Lu Chen looked back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not know when this guy had become so eye-catching. His hairstyle had also changed. Now he had a swept-back hairstyle. He had at least 5 sets of weapons on him. There were all kinds of swords, spears, rods, and sticks. Although they could not be used at the same time, they still had to be on him. There were 3 magic treasures hanging beside him. They seemed to be the magic treasures of his battle soul. And now they had all appeared. His clothes had also changed into the most expensive multi-layered clothes. There was an inner lining, outerwear, cloak, carved dragons and phoenixes. The workmanship was extremely exquisite. Lucian narrowed his eyes slightly, his face full of surprise. This guy, how did he become like this? Chapter 1103. From the introduction of A Sea of Clouds, Lucian finally understood how Black Armor King made his fortune. In this prodigy competition, he was the one who earned the most. Now he was so proud that he didn't know what to do. There was no other way. There was simply too much money. Lucian frowned. All the students bet that I won't be able to enter the top 10? These bunch of little bastards actually want me to lose. Don't they want the school's resources? This nameless. Actually, the students are earning quite a lot from other schools. Lucian suddenly became angry. Black Armor King, come over here. Black Armor King, who was so proud of himself, heard a familiar voice. Suddenly, he felt as if he was struck by lightning. Only when he saw the president's dark face did he realize that the president was back. President, why did you come back? Black Armor King jogged over. You opened a gambling house? You earned quite a lot. Lucian looked at the luxuriously equipped Black Armor King with a strange gaze. President, I didn't earn much. Not much. Not much. Why do I feel like you're about to ascend to heaven? Lucian said fiercely. How much did you earn? In front of Lucian, Black Armor King's arrogance disappeared. He lowered his head and said honestly, not much. I only earned about 3 billion. Lucian almost had a heart attack. This guy's assets were more than the school's savings. The school also had to open a trading house and pay salaries. In fact, they only had about 1 billion spirit stones left. Lucian frowned. Old High, the fish farm that we wanted to rent last time, was it because we didn't have enough funds? Yes. Lucian nodded and looked at Black Armor King. Black Armor King, don't you know that you opened a gambling house in the school without permission? President, the school didn't say that we can't open a gambling house. Other schools have their own gambling houses too. Black Armor King was confused. Yes, the academy's rules don't say that we can't gamble, but... Lucian thought for a moment and continued. But using the dean's ranking as a wager is disrespectful to me. Old High, is there a rule in the academy about not respecting elders? Yes, they have no respect for their elders. Serious cases can result in expulsion from the academy. Black Armor King sucked in a breath of cold air. Expelled from the academy. It was a serious crime. Lucian nodded in satisfaction. The contestants from other academies are all students, so it doesn't matter if there's a bet or not. However, Godfiend is different. I'm the contestant. In other words, the dean. Tell me, not only do you not want me to get a good ranking, but you also want to take the opportunity to amass money. Is that appropriate? Lucian's words made the Black Armor King's face turn pale. Principal, Black Armor King's mind raced as he finally figured out where the problem lay. This wasn't a matter of whether the rules were set or not. It was a matter of not satisfying the director. After all, the rules were set by the dean. He had the final say. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. He quickly pulled Lucian to the side and whispered, Principal, I don't mean to disrespect you. If not for the fact that the dean suppressed the experts from the other continents, I, Black Armor King, would not be where I am today. This is a 1 billion spirit stone card. Black Armor King secretly passed a spirit stone card to Lucian with a smile. Lucian shook his head without looking at the spirit stone card. Black Armor King was shocked. Boss is not satisfied. He gritted his teeth and took out another spirit stone card. This is 500 million. I don't have any more. I have already put away the rest of the money. Lucian glanced at Black Armor King. He didn't need spirit stones at all. After all, he had a huge spirit stone mine in the 5th layer of heaven. In terms of wealth, he could crush Black Armor King. Speaking of which, those brats actually bet on him losing? The Black Armor King had won them all. So Lucian was quite happy in his heart. The main reason was that Lu Chen couldn't catch anyone else. Thus, he dragged Black Armor King over to scare him. Why would I want your spirit stones? Lu Chen stared at Black Armor King and touched his chin. Although your business mind is not bad, you can't only care about yourself. In the future, you are not allowed to set up private bets. If you want to open one, do it in the name of the academy. Ah, what ah? Lu Chen stared at Black Armor King. All you think about is earning money. Your talent needs to be used on the right path. In the future, the academy's foreign trade will be handed to you. This principle Black Armor King's eyes widened as he looked at Lu Chen in shock. Lu Chen said, "You don't want to?" "No, of course I want to," Black Armor King hurriedly said. "Yi Fan and that bunch of brats are too talented. Grey Crow, by E and I can't compare to them in cultivation. We also want to do something in other areas so that we won't be surpassed by them one by one," Black Armor King said seriously. "Principal, are you really letting me manage the trade?" Lu Chen smiled. "You are the earliest students of the Divine Devil Academy. How can you not be noticed? I just hope that you can play a more useful role in the areas you are good at. Actually, I have long wanted to buy a few strength testing stones. Previously, the World Edge Pavilion had a few testing stones. Others don't have them. I also want to get a few," Lu Chen said with longing in his eyes. "Also, the academy's renovation is still a bit shabby. As for the materials, I just found out that some of them can be bought through special channels. If I can buy them with spirit stones, I will buy them with spirit stones first. Principal, leave it to me. I think I can earn all this money for you," Black Armor King said excitedly. "Actually, what's the use of earning so many spirit stones? If we can make the academy stronger, we will have more room for improvement." Lu Chen nodded in satisfaction. "I believe in you. All right, I will tell Old C and the others about this. You can go first." "Yes, Principal." "Wait." Lu Chen suddenly called out to Black Armor King. "What other instructions do you have for me? Change your appearance. Make yourself look like a nouveau riche. How are you going to represent the academy when negotiating with others in the future?" Black Armor King scratched his head in embarrassment. "Yes, Principal. I will go back and do it now." A sea of clouds looked at Black Armor King's back as he ran away and smiled. This kid is really lucky. Not only did he earn a lot of money, but he also got promoted. However, he is indeed the most suitable person to be in charge of the trade department. "The academy needs too much money," Etienne said. "At least, we don't have to see him walking around with his nose in the air every day." A sea of clouds smiled. Lu Chen smiled. Black Armor King was also a talent. It was just that his talent was not in cultivation. He believed that he would help the academy earn more spirit stones in the future. "Oh right, Old C, Old E, I will be returning to the second heaven in 3 days. Today, I brought back the rewards I won from the Prodigy tournament. There are quite a lot of resources. In these 2 days, let's reorganize the academy's rewards and benefits," Lu Chen said. "Okay." A sea of clouds immediately asked Long Xiang and the others to check and organize the resources. "Nameless, how long will you be in the second heaven?" Lu Chen thought for a moment and shook his head. "I don't know." This time, when he returned to the second heaven, Lu Chen was going to the River of Forgetfulness. Mengpa said that because he did not return to the second heaven in time, the girl's fate had changed. When he saw her again, he did not know whether they would be friends or enemies. Thinking of this, Lu Chen sighed. "Actually, I should have gone earlier." Chapter 1104. Lu Chen, a sea of clouds, and Etienne had been busy for 2 days to improve the students' daily welfare. After replenishing a large number of resources, the students could receive some basic supplies every month. Coupled with the ranking rewards from the arena, the Demonic Academy was now not much different from the other academies. In addition, in these few days, the seal on the academy's herb garden was also lifted. The herb garden of the sacred courtyard of Wunyan was very large. Lu Chen suddenly thought that he could bring the medicine boy over from the second heaven this time. Then he could plant herbs in the academy. On the 3rd day, Lu Chen went to Zhongxiange. Shen Liang, immortal venerable, had not returned yet. He did not know what urgent matter had taken him so long. Nameless, the portal exit will automatically disappear after you leave and reappear in 30 days. You have to pay attention to the time, Ma Bei said. Okay. Lu Chen followed Ma Bei to the portal. Lu Chen walked directly into the portal. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found that he was already in the novice village of the second heaven. Things remained the same, but people had changed. All of a sudden, it brought back a lot of memories for Lu Chen. This novice village was not the novice village where Lu Chen was born. It was called Long Distance Village. Occasionally, some teams that had just arrived at the second heaven would spawn around Lu Chen. He still remembered that when he had just arrived at the second heaven, he had provoked the people of the Holy Mountain. Later, he had directly seized their main city. So what state should I be in now? Lu Chen looked at his attributes. He was actually in his original state. As a person from the lower realm, Lu Chen maintained the attributes of the sixth heaven and entered the second heaven in his original state. Of course, even in his original state, Lu Chen's current attributes were very terrifying, not to mention that he had the soul-body unification. In the second heaven, Lu Chen's strength was far beyond everyone's. Some of the people who had just reached the second level of heaven were just like Lu Chen back then. They were all dumbfounded. However, there were also many high-level players in the novice village. After all, Lu Chen had increased the difficulty of the second heaven to hell mode. It was quite difficult to leave the novice village. At this moment, a young man walked up and said to Lu Chen, "Hey friend, where's your team? Our party is a 10-man elite party. It's a little difficult to survive here. Everyone here is new. If your party is strong enough, we can consider forming a party to hunt the silver werewolves outside." Lu Chen smiled. This scene reminded him of when he first came to the second heaven. Unfortunately, he was not here to experience life. He smiled and said, "Thank you, but I still have something to do, so I won't be farming." "Aren't you going to farm after coming to the second heaven?" "I'm here to look for something." After Lu Chen finished speaking, he opened the map of the second heaven that he hadn't seen in a long time. There was still plenty of time. Since he was already here, he might as well head over to the Earth Alliance to take a look. He did not want to scare the newbies around him. After all, he had promised Ma Bei that he would try his best not to cause too much of a commotion. After declining the other party's invitation, Lu Chen walked out of the village alone. He wanted to find a secluded place to summon Nine-Winged. Lu Chen frowned slightly. There are so many monsters outside the novice village? Then he used Great Ravager and easily killed a few silver werewolves. Some items dropped on the ground. Lu Chen was too lazy to look at them. He directly summoned Nine-Winged and flew to the Earth Alliance. Not long after, a few people looked at the corpses of the silver werewolves on the ground in horror. They could not believe their eyes. Oh my God, who killed these werewolves? They didn't even pick up the items? Hurry up and loot them. They might have died together with the werewolves. These werewolves will drop dark gold. After saying that, a few people frantically looted the corpses. Not long after, Lu Chen arrived at the Earth Alliance. There were not many people from Earth here. Although the guide plan focused on nurturing a small number of people, and there were many people who were still in the low-level heavens, the level of the second heaven was too low. Most of the people who were still here were some old people and children. After Lu Chen came down from Nine-Winged and arrived at the Earth Alliance, he was stopped by a few guards. The guards in charge of security were very young. They were probably left behind to protect these Earth players. However, their IDs were displayed above their heads. The prefix was Wild Waves Guild. It was the people from Wild Waves who had left behind to protect these weak players. Leng Nuo, this girl. Lu Chen shook his head. On one hand, it could be that Leng Nuo was meticulous and left people to protect these weaker players. On the other hand, it meant that the current Wild Waves had already participated in the military's activities. It could be seen how terrifying its power was. Hey, you are. Two guards noticed Lu Chen. After walking up, they looked at Lu Chen strangely. I am an Earthling. Lu Chen smiled slightly. Earthling? You? Why are you still in the second heaven? Which guard team are you from? Lu Chen said. I'm just here to take a look. Why do I feel that you are acting suspiciously? The other person had been observing Lu Chen and seemed very cautious. What is your player serial number? Player serial number? Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. He had not returned to Earth for a long time. There was still such a thing? I don't have a serial number. However, I am indeed an Earthling. I am from Wuxia. To be more precise, I am also from Wild Waves, Lu Chen explained. The few of them quickly realized that a large group of guards had surrounded them. How can you not have a serial number? Don't talk about Wild Waves. You don't even have a serial number. How can you be from Wild Waves? Tell us, who are you? What is your purpose of coming here? If you don't tell us, don't blame us for being rude. Lu Chen shook his head. Perhaps his appearance had changed. These people actually did not recognize him. Lu Chen had no choice but to reveal his ID. A golden ID appeared in front of everyone. Wild Waves Guild Leader. Solipsistic. Seeing these words, the 20 to 30 guards were stunned. Solipsistic? You are. Mad God. Wild Waves Guild Leader? Isn't the guild leader Cold God? No, Cold God's title is Vice Guild Leader. This is Guild Leader. Although there was only a one-word difference between Vice Guild Leader and Guild Leader, the difference between them did not need to be explained at all. Mad God. It's really you. Oh my God. I'm seeing a living Mad God. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Are you really Mad God? Why do I feel that you are different from before? Also, you are not this tall. Previously, Mad God was said to be only 1.75 meters tall. Lu Chen smiled slightly. You will know in the future. Then he put away his ID. Is the Earth Alliance still peaceful now? Lu Chen asked. After everyone knew Lu Chen's identity, they immediately became fans and rushed to answer. It's pretty good. No one is causing trouble for us here. My legs are inconvenient in the real world, so I have been staying in the second heaven. However, I heard from my friends in the real world that our people are quite popular in the third, fourth, and fifth heaven. Hearing this news, Lu Chen was relieved. He had paved the way for the players on Earth, and it was finally working. But I see that you guys are very vigilant. Lu Chen asked another question. Oh, it's like this. I was temporarily transferred from the third heaven. A middle-aged white man said. I heard that some time ago, there was a strange woman who kept looking over here. She didn't hurt us, but the higher-ups thought that person was too strange, so they urgently transferred some people to strengthen the security here. Oh, what kind of person is she? Lu Chen suddenly realized that this matter sounded a little strange. Speaking of which, it's strange, the person from the third heaven said. I heard that no one saw her face clearly, but from her body shape, she seemed to be a woman. After our group of people came down, she never appeared again. How long ago did this happen? Lu Chen asked. A few months ago. Anyway, I haven't seen her in the past 4 months. Oh, by the way, someone seemed to have heard her repeating a sentence. What did she say? She seemed to keep saying, what did I forget? Chapter 1105. Lu Chen frowned slightly when he heard the guard's words. Could it be that girl? Can you take me to the place where she appeared? No problem. The guard leading the way still needed to go back to protect the Earth Alliance, so Lu Chen asked them to go back first. That woman had not appeared for several months. Lu Chen looked around at the foot of the mountain and did not find any clues. It was almost evening, and the sunset glow painted half of the sky red. Lu Chen was stunned when he saw this. This scene was so familiar. It was just that it was familiar, but he could not remember. After trying a few times, Lu Chen shook his head. It was just a feeling, and it might not even have anything to do with that woman. There was no need to waste any more time here. Let's go back to the army first. Nine Wing, let's go. As they approached the Spirit Condensation Mountain Range, Lu Chen realized that Nine Wing had stopped flying. It was probably affected by the turbulence above the mountain range. Until now, not many people knew that there was a hidden force hidden in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Range. Lu Chen spread his wings and returned to the monster army. The medicine boy was in a large field, looking down at the growth of the herbs. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. Xiao Kuang? The medicine boy could not believe his eyes. His boss was back. The medicine boy's eyes turned red immediately. Lu Chen smiled. Little Tong, thank you for your hard work. As he spoke, Lu Chen released Little Green, Xiaomin Rhubarb Furball and Originator. Little Green Xiaomin. The medicine boy was arrogant and looked about the same age as Xiaomin. He kept calling them Xiao Kuang and Little Green. But anyone could see that he was very excited. The reunion of good friends made the atmosphere lively. Lu Chen looked at the army. It was larger than the last time he left. It seemed that the army hall had been upgraded. Little Tong, did you level up this? The alchemy apprentice said proudly. That's right. Didn't you give me a lot of reputation? Big mountain, big idiot, 2 idiots, and the others are all very high-leveled now. There's also the Kuei cows you brought back last time. With our strength, we can do whatever we want in the second heaven. I got the mountain Erzhan, 3 idiots and the others to go and catch a lot of wild monsters. While they were at it, they also raised the level of the army to level 6. Ah, can Mountain and the others catch wild beasts? The medical apprentice was now the vice captain and had the authority to appoint people. However, Mountain and the others probably did not have any intelligence and only knew how to fight. I got them some spirit enlightening grass, and trained them for a while. Now they have a certain level of spiritual intelligence, the medicine boy said casually. Fuck. Is that okay? Lu Chen widened his eyes. The medicine boy said discontentedly. Is it strange? Isn't this a very simple thing? The spirit enlightening grass is relatively rare, and it can only be found in the 5th celestial layer and above. Last time, Little Green said it was the young returning grass, but I knew she was wrong. Although the 2 herbs look almost identical, and even their medicinal effects are the same, the stem of the spirit enlightening grass has 4 more veins. I recognized it as spirit enlightening grass at a glance. Then I cultivated some. Lu Chen and Lu Yi were speechless. How could he see that there were 4 extra veins on the stem? To the medicine boy, this was a very simple thing. However, to others, this was simply a fantasy. Well, in terms of medicinal herbs, the medicine boy was definitely the best. Just as the few of them were chatting, a few silly figures ran over. Lu Chen looked back. The mountain, Erzhan, 3 idiots, 7 heads, 10 tigers. These army members who had accompanied Lu Chen to level up were all staring at him blankly. You guys? Captain. The mountain and Erzhan actually spoke. Oh. The 3 strong gnolls stared at Lu Chen with their 6 small red eyes. 7 heads head hung to the side with a horrified expression. Captain. 10 tigers directly pounced to Lu Chen's side and rubbed against Lu Chen to show their intimacy. They really recognize boss. Xiaomin said happily. Lu Chen's eyes were also a little red. They only gained a little spiritual intelligence after he left, but they recognized him. In other words, even if they did not gain spiritual intelligence, they still remembered him. Good, very good. You all gained spiritual intelligence. Lu Chen laughed excitedly. After the army leveled up, a new building appeared, the Martial Arts Hall. This was a place specially for army members to learn new skills. Currently, the army had more than 1,000 members. Under the management of the medicine boy, they were orderly and were still growing. Lu Chen told the medicine boy about the academy's herb field. Unexpectedly, the medicine boy did not want to go. Little Kuang, I kind of like it here. The medicine boy said. It's very safe here. I'm not lonely here at all, and I have a lot of things to do. You can give the academy's herb field to Little Green. I'll teach her the herbs I've organized in the past 2 days. Her comprehension is very high, so it won't be difficult for her to learn. If there are any herbs that you urgently need, you can directly go to the herb warehouse. I'll cultivate them. The difference between the medicine boy and Lu Yi was that the medicine boy could cultivate large amounts of herbs in a very short period of time. This was something that Lu Yi could not learn. However, with the army's herb warehouse, this problem could be solved. Lu Chen frowned. You really don't want to go to level 6? The medicine boy nodded. I can't bear to leave Ershan and the 3 idiots. If I leave, they can only be walking corpses. I want to continue training them and let them have the intelligence of a normal person. Looking at the medicine boy's determined gaze, Lu Chen sighed. The medicine boy had spent more time with Shan and the three idiots than with him. It was normal that he could not bear to leave them. Little Kwang, it doesn't matter where I am. Besides, the academy's herb field serves the academy. I don't want to help others cultivate herbs. I hope you can agree to let me stay here. Lu Chen was the medicine boy's master. If he insisted, the medicine boy would still have to follow Lu Chen. However, Lu Chen would never force others. Even his ghost pet was no exception. Finally, he nodded. I respect your decision. By the way, I'm also looking for items to help you guys be reborn. When I've collected all of them, you Little Green and Xiaomin won't have to be ghost pets anymore. Yes, I know. Little Green told me that. The medicine boy's eyes were wet. After holding it in for a long time, he finally opened his mouth. Boss, thank you. This guy actually called Lu Chen boss. This was the first time. He had never heard of an owner who would go to such extent for a ghost pet. Lu Chen smiled. What are you thanking me for? You are all my family. The medicine boy nodded heavily. Then he walked to Lu Chen's side and hugged Lu Chen's waist tightly. Yes. After saying that, he could not stop crying. Lu Chen touched his head and shook it. Okay, don't cry. I'm not crying. At night, Lu Chen rested alone in his room. The river of forgetfulness. Lu Chen's gaze was particularly serious. Mengpa said that he had to wait until he had the strength to enter the sixth heaven, before he could hope to take out the 2 drops of tears. This meant that there must be something guarding the river of forgetfulness. He took out the prize from the prodigy tournament, and made the final preparations for going to the river of forgetfulness. Chapter 1106. He used all the 300,000 appearance extraction scrolls and added them to the 3rd dimension. Lu Chen's current spiritual power was enough for him to use without using the soul-body fusion scrolls. He added them to the 3rd dimension to increase his attack and stamina. Lu Chen chose to extract 9 winged from the advanced item extraction scrolls. The other equipment could be used in the soul-body fusion scrolls state, so there was no rush to extract them. Moreover, the mount advancement pill that Lu Chen had obtained from the Soul Martial Hall could only be used after 9 winged completed the extraction process. As the most important reward of the prodigy competition, Lu Chen did not need the Tribulation Transcendence pill for now. Lu Chen directly gave the advanced immortal pill formula to Little Green. The 100,000 reputation points allowed Lu Chen's Dean reputation to rise from nameless to famous. I feel that other than the appearance extraction scrolls, there are no other substantial improvements. Lu Chen complained. Let's upgrade 9 winged. Then, Lu Chen went to an open area and summoned 9 winged. Now 9 winged could be summoned without the need for soul-body fusion. Lu Chen took out the mount advancement pill and threw it to 9 winged. 9 winged opened its mouth and swallowed it. As soon as it swallowed the advancement pill, 9 winged's reddish-brown eyes trembled. It seemed that the advancement pill was changing 9 winged's body. Roar! With a furious roar, 9 winged could not control its strength and spat out a pillar of fire into the sky. In the distance, people looked at the pillar of fire in horror, their eyes full of shock. What's that? It seems to be near the Dragon Plains. Is this the appearance of a supreme treasure? Near the Spirit Condensation Mountain Range. Did you hear a sound just now? It sounded like a dragon's roar. Could it be that some powerful boss appeared? Lu Chen looked at 9 winged nervously. He did not know that 9 winged's evolution would cause such a huge commotion. 9 winged looked like it was in pain. It kept spitting fire into the sky, and its body began to expand. Even through its scales and skin, one could see its meridians emitting flames. This. 9 wings, are you alright? Lu Chen roared. However, 9 winged did not have the chance to pay attention to Lu Chen. His body was still undergoing extreme changes. Suddenly, the skin on 9 winged's back split open, and a section of white bone grew crazily, gradually forming the skeletal frame of a pair of bone wings. Soon after, veins extended from his cracked back and covered his skeletal wings. Then flesh and blood grew, and skin covered it. Before long, a new wing grew on 9 winged's back. The 9-winged celestial dragon had grown a 10th wing. At the same time, 9-wing's body had also grown by a third, reaching a length of over 200 meters. When the new pair of wings grew out, 9-wing finally stopped shooting out pillars of fire. It lay weakly beside Lu Chen, its reddish-brown eyes looking weakly at Lu Chen. 9 wings. Lu Chen hurriedly ran over to check on 9 wings. Are you all right? 9 wings shook his head weakly. It seemed like he was fine, but he was just too tired. Lu Chen immediately checked 9-wing's status. 9-winged celestial dragon has evolved into 10-winged celestial dragon. Movement speed increased by 150%. When flying, it ignores turbulence and vacuum. At the same time, it adds the status Dragon Ascension to the owner, permanently increasing the owner's attributes by 30%. After attributes increase, the owner's cultivation level will not be changed. 10-winged celestial dragon skill. Mount Dragon Aura. Mounts lower than the owner's level cannot fly in front of the 10-winged celestial dragon. Dragon Shadow Storm. When flying, it induces air currents and rides the clouds. It can hide its whereabouts and cannot be seen by the naked eye. Explosive Fire Haste. Increases movement speed by 300% for a short period of time. Duration 10 minutes. Cooldown 300 minutes. Raging Fire Dragon Breath. Shoots flames, causing large area damage. Lu Chen looked at 9-wing. No 10-wing's new attributes and was speechless for a long time. After 9-wing's evolution, its movement speed had increased exponentially. It could ignore turbulence and vacuum, and it could even increase its own attributes. In that case, the attribute benefits for 9-wing's evolution were even greater than the 300,000 cash redemption coupons. With the addition of the creation bloodline, Lu Chen's attributes were 40% higher than others in the same situation. In addition, 10-wing's dragon aura had returned. 9-wing's level was already very high previously. Although it was not considered outstanding, it was still a top-notch mount. It was just not that outstanding. Now that 9-wing had been upgraded to 10-wing, when 10-wing ascended to the sky in the future, the others would be forced to disembark. So powerful. Even Lu Chen could not help but sigh. It was indeed the only mount. Lu Chen leaned in front of the dragon's head and caressed 10-wing's huge dragon head. He smiled and said, "Looks like I have to call you 10-wing in the future. Have a good rest here today. Tomorrow, we'll go to the River of Forgetfulness." The next day, a black 10-winged dragon flew directly from Spirit Condensation Mountain. Countless people around were forced to land inexplicably. However, they could not see 10-wing's shadow at all. They could only look in surprise at their various mounts lying on the ground and facing the same direction with their heads lowered, as if they were welcoming their king. Lu Chen stood on the dragon's head and felt the strong wind blowing in his face. 10-wing's speed was much faster than before. Even Taishuo, which was known for its speed, could not keep up with 10-wing's speed. After the college opens the teleportation gate, I can give Taishuo to Lu Yi, Lu Chen muttered. The journey that was supposed to take almost an hour was now completed in less than 20 minutes. Lu Chen had already arrived above the Bridge of Helplessness. In midair, Lu Chen saw that the Bridge of Helplessness was crowded with people. Lu Chen kept 10-wing and flew to the forest at the side. He then walked out of the forest and appeared in front of the Bridge of Helplessness like a normal player. Coincidentally, there was a large group of more than 500 people in front of the Bridge of Helplessness that was preparing to cross it. So many people. It seems like a few large groups from a certain faction came together. Lu Chen walked past these groups and walked towards the Bridge of Helplessness. A few leaders were discussing. It seemed like Meng Po's conditions made them very conflicted. Meng Po did not rush them. Anyway, for her, she could afford to wait more than anyone else. She only looked at the back of the crowd as if she was waiting for someone. Only when she saw Lu Chen's figure did Meng Po smile. "You're here?" Everyone was surprised. Who was Meng Po talking to? They turned around and saw a tall man walking over calmly. Lu Chen walked in front of Meng Po and cupped his fists. "Senior Meng Po." Meng Po nodded slightly. "You're a bit late." Lu Chen sighed. "It's not that I didn't want to come earlier, it's just that, it's a long story." He originally wanted to come after passing the 5th layer of heavens. However, he was forced to enter the 6th layer of heavens. In other words, he did not rely on defeating the 5th layer of heaven's domain boss to enter the 6th layer of heavens. This did not match Meng Po's original requirements. Secondly, he established the demonic academy as soon as he reached the 6th layer of heavens. He did not have the chance to join the immortal academy. The demonic academy did not even open the teleportation gate to return to his original world. He could not return at all. How's the underworld now? Lu Chen asked. It's recovering. Meng Po smiled. Her face was still full of wrinkles. However, this was not the first time Lu Chen and Meng Po met, so he did not feel that she was ugly. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity. Lu Chen nodded. Their short conversation ended. Then, both of them looked at the river of forgetfulness under the bridge of helplessness at the same time. Are you ready? The things below might scare you, Meng Po said. Lu Chen smiled. Actually, there aren't many things that can scare me now. Is that so? You still don't believe this old woman's words. Anyway, be prepared. Lu Chen nodded. Thank you for the reminder, senior. After saying that, Lu Chen jumped off the bridge of helplessness under everyone's shocked eyes. Chapter 1107. That person jumped directly into the river of forgetfulness? The surrounding people were suddenly in an uproar. Didn't they say that people would die if they jumped in? The people who were crossing the bridge of helplessness did not care about their own matters, and all rushed to the side of the bridge of helplessness. However, at this time, the river of forgetfulness's surface was calm. The river's surface was hazy and the black color made the ripples caused by the person who jumped into the river unable to be seen clearly. Damn, this is the first time I've seen someone commit suicide in Jiutian. Sure enough, there are all kinds of people in Jiutian. At this time, Meng Po said faintly, if you don't want to die, leave the bridge of helplessness last. Ah. The people looked at Meng Po in surprise, not knowing why she would say such a thing. I said, if you don't want to be affected by the aftermath of the upcoming battle, leave the bridge of helplessness immediately. That kind of death can directly cause your brain to die. Everyone's face was filled with shock. At this time, the second heaven did not involve the concept of the physical body, but the players still maintained a neural connection with the real world. Even the NPC said so the people hurriedly left the bridge of helplessness. When they just left the bridge of helplessness, the originally calm river of forgetfulness finally became different. The river's surface began to ripple slightly and gradually set off an undercurrent. Then the entire river of forgetfulness shook violently. A loud rumbling sound came from the ground. What's going on? What's wrong with the river of forgetfulness? The people still did not know what was going on. Suddenly, the river's surface exploded. A column of water shot up to 100 meters high, and the entire lake's surface exploded violently. The black river water fell, causing the entire river of forgetfulness to become even more turbulent. Look, there are 2 people on the river. Someone shouted. The people hurriedly looked in the direction he was pointing. At this time on the turbulent river, there were indeed 2 figures suspended. One of them had a bead floating beside him. It was the man who jumped into the river just now. Suspended beside Lu Chen was the water avoidance bead. With the help of the water avoidance bead, he could stand on the river's surface. However, the person opposite him did not rely on any magic treasure, and stood directly on the turbulent river's surface. However, at this time, neither of them made a move. Lu Chen looked at the person in front of him in shock, and could not say a word for a long time. This person was a human elder. His entire body was emitting a black aura. His face was pale, but his expression was calm. He looked into Lu Chen's eyes without any emotion, as if he was a stranger. But when Lu Chen saw him, he found it hard to calm down. He finally understood Meng Po's words. If this was the person under the river of forgetfulness, then it really scared him. This person was Lu Chen's mentor and friend. He was the one who had saved Lu Chen back then, and had even sacrificed himself to help Lu Chen clear the Heaven's Punishment Tower. He was Mu Xian. Mu Xian. Lu Chen's hands trembled, his eyes wet. If it weren't for Mu Xian, he would have already died in the heavenly punishment chess formation of the Immortal Spirit Mountain. If it weren't for Mu Xian, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the origin celestial devil mantra. After that, he relied on this mantra in all his fierce battles. It could be said that Mu Xian was his benefactor. Lu Chen had never forgotten this old friend of his. Even when he went to the underworld, he would still ask about Mu Xian's situation. But who would have thought that the protector of the river of forgetfulness was Mu Xian? Mu Xian, is that you? Lu Chen's eyes widened in disbelief. But Mu Xian didn't answer him. Instead, the black mist around him became thicker. Myriad underworld body. Mu Xian growled, his body suddenly erupting with terrifying spiritual energy. Strong winds raged, and the vast river of forgetfulness surged with shocking waves. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the day seemed like night. The surrounding people stared at the two people on the river, dumbfounded, their minds in chaos. Who are these people? They're only in a state, but they've already caused such a phenomenon? They're definitely not from the second heaven. They're like gods. Is that demon going to eat that man? How terrifying. On the bridge of helplessness, Meng Po's clothes fluttered in the wind. Even the area around her face was like rolling waves. She narrowed her eyes. Lu Chen, I told you you'd be scared. The protector of the river of forgetfulness will find the weakness in a person's heart. Looks like this person is your weakness. Lu Chen watched Mu Xian activate his amplification skill, and his eyelids twitched. The opponent of the river of forgetfulness was actually Mu Xian, but he didn't recognize him. If he hesitated any longer, he might die in this person's hands. Thinking of this, Lu Chen temporarily suppressed his agitated mood. No, you're not Mu Xian. But, Mu Xian. I'm sorry. Mu Xian was a loose immortal. Lu Chen didn't dare to be careless. Lu Chen growled. Divine demon symbiosis. Dragon god form. Divine demon heaven's might. Soul and body as one. The surrounding people who were watching the show suddenly found themselves inexplicably entering a weakened state. Of course, even if there was no one here, the wild monster army's strength had greatly increased. They could also provide Lu Chen with attributes. Lu Chen used War God's possession, demon transformation, and other skills. Entering the complete form, Lu Chen's body also erupted with terrifying spiritual energy. The waves below the two of them crazily collided, and the entire river of forgetfulness was swept up by a violent whirlwind. Lu Chen's white hair fluttered in the wind. His whole body was covered in dragon scales, and he looked like a white-haired war god. My god, that man is actually so terrifying. What level of battle is this? The spectators had already shrunk into the distance, looking at the two people on the black river of forgetfulness in horror. At the same time, more and more level 2 players were attracted by the strange scene here, and they were all rushing towards the bridge of helplessness. However, Lu Chen didn't have time to care about this. Although Lu Chen promised Ma Bei not to cause too much of a commotion, he still had to fight this battle. A pink figure shot over from the distance. Her speed was so fast that it was difficult to see with the naked eye. This person's strength was definitely not something a level 2 player should have. That person quietly blended into the crowd, and no one noticed. They only inexplicably saw a veiled woman suddenly appear beside them. Someone looked back, and was attracted by her bright eyes that were like stars. They couldn't move their eyes away. What beautiful eyes! The person who came was Tian Xer. She had also arrived at level 2. However, as the only daughter of the Emperor Heaven Immortal Palace, one of the strongest forces in level 6, the shock on her face was no less than the others. It's the soul of eternal hell. What is Lu Chen doing? Why is he fighting the soul of eternal hell? The soul of eternal hell is the Holy Spirit that guards the river of forgetfulness. Although he's not an immortal cultivator, he's invincible below the level of a true immortal. Lu Chen didn't know that Tian Xer had also come. At this moment, he needed to focus all his energy on dealing with this Mu Xian in front of him. Mu Xian, I didn't have the chance to spar with you when you were alive, but here, we're going to become opponents. Lu Chen felt a pang of pain in his heart. He knew that the creature in front of him might not be Mu Xian, but the other party's appearance and movements were exactly the same as Mu Xian. He couldn't help but overlap the two. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with tears. Fine, to me you're both a teacher and a friend. You've watched me grow up step by step. Today Lu Chen will prove. Your judgment back then was right. With a furious roar, Lu Chen's eyes were filled with killing intent. Emptiness of God's and Demon's arm. Chapter 1108. Lu Chen's left arm quickly demonized like a demon's arm, but it was covered in dragon scales. Suddenly Mu Xian moved. 9 steps to end. Mu Xian's figure disappeared, and appeared in front of Lu Chen in the next second. A thin sword appeared in Mu Xian's hand. 6 directions divine / hexagram sword. 6 swords combined into one. The speed was so fast that it gave people the illusion that all 6 swords were used at the same time. Lu Chen couldn't distinguish the order of the 6 swords even when he activated Heaven's Eye. So fast. Void Guard. The afterimage of the 6 light sword virtual shadow directly hit the great void arm, and a shocking wave of spiritual power erupted. Some of the surrounding players were even pushed back and lost HP. The afterimage took more than 20,000 HP? Are you kidding me? We're already standing 1,000 meters away. Everyone retreat further. No one can stand on the shore. It's too fast. My God, this level of battle. What level is it? At this time, the battle didn't stop for a moment because of the spiritual energy explosion. Mu Xian stabbed his sword again. Star-shattering sword intent. A sharp sword aura pierced toward Lu Chen at a very close distance. 9 steps to the void. Lu Chen dodged quickly and a red spear appeared in his hand. Spearway, Hellfire Spear Ultimate Firmament. Phantom Flash. Mu Xian immediately used a teleportation skill, and left an illusion in place. His original body attacked Lu Chen's back. 8-sided annihilation, earthquake. Mu Xian approached again, but this time Lu Chen was prepared. He stomped on the river and a huge water wall exploded. It was a spectacular sight. Mu Xian was sent flying by the water wall. 8-sided annihilation, backstrike. Lu Chen flashed behind Mu Xian. Cancel backstrike. Spearway, Hellfire Star-shattering spear. Mu Xian's reaction was very fast. He didn't wait for Lu Chen's attack and changed his move. Imperial Sword Astral Form. Holy Sword Buddha Lotus. His body disappeared into the sword chi. At the same time, the long sword spun wildly like a blooming flower, making it difficult for Lu Chen to attack. This move was both offensive and defensive. If Lu Chen acted rashly, it was very likely that he would be the one to be injured. Divine Devil Astral Body. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice, but he did not stop attacking. With the support of the godly Devil Astral Body, his attack speed was even more terrifying. He actually wanted to forcefully attack the Buddhist Lotus. At the same time, the godly Devil Astral Body successfully forced Mu Xian's main body out. Mu Xian did not pause for a moment. He turned around and slashed 3 times. 6 directions godly slash. 3 swords of heaven and man. When Lu Chen saw the sword chi approaching, he had no choice but to give up on attacking. He used 9 void steps to pull away. The 3 sword chi blasted towards the forest in the distance. Not long after, there was a loud explosion. Then a mountain in the distance was directly split into 4. The mountain collapsed. Everyone looked at the mountain behind them in horror. He had only casually used 3 sword chi in an emergency, but he had actually split the mountain in half. If those 3 swords had exploded here, they would have been finished. Oh my God, who can tell me who they are? This is too terrifying. A fight between immortals, a real fight between immortals. Their strength is definitely above the 4th heaven. Are these the super experts of the Jiutian? Oh my God, I thought that the boss of the 1st heaven was already very strong. Only now do I know that in front of these super experts, I am not even an ant. Tian Xiner shook her head. These 2 people were not just above the 4th heaven. Lu Chen's strength was at the peak of the 6th heaven. As for the soul of the underworld, below the true immortal realm, even those in the human king realm and itinerant immortal realm were no match for it. No matter how strong the Nether King was, he did not dare to touch the bridge of helplessness and the river of forgetfulness. Lu Chen, what are you trying to do? You actually dared to provoke the soul of the underworld. Tian Xian was also worried for Lu Chen. At this moment, In just a few seconds, Lu Chen and Mu Xian had already exchanged blows many times. Both sides were surrounded by danger, and the speed of their attacks and defenses was too fast. At this moment, both of them were distancing themselves from each other. Otherwise, if they continued to fight like this, just watching them would be suffocating. Lu Chen stared at Mu Xian. His opponent was too strong, and his fighting skills were also extremely exquisite. He had suddenly used the divine demon astral body, which was originally his trump card, but his opponent had seen through his plan and directly abandoned the sacred sword lotus. Not only did this cause Lu Chen's plan to fail, but his divine demon astral body was probably going to be wasted for more than 10 seconds. The strength of this Mu Xian was above that of the king of hell. Are you really Mu Xian? Lu Chen said coldly. This time his opponent actually spoke. Is there a difference whether I am or not? I saw that you did not hesitate at all when you attacked. Lu Chen stared at him. Looks like you are not the real Mu Xian. Then where is Mu Xian? He is already dead, don't you know? He died by your hands. Just as Lu Chen was stunned, his opponent attacked again. Starry Sky Godly Travel. In an instant, Mu Xian was in front of Lu Chen again. This guy's movement skill was too fast. Fortunately, he did not know how long Lu Chen's divine demon astral body could last. Now that Lu Chen was still in the divine demon astral body state, his speed was not slow. 9 void steps. But this time Lu Chen did not dodge too far away. He wanted to use the last few seconds of the divine demon astral body to deal damage. You are too slow. Mu Xian shouted coldly. 6 directions divine slaying. Divine demon lotus heart, inner demon. Sky piercing sword. Lu Chen instantly pulled out the divine demon limitless sword and used his strongest sword move at the same time. This time the two killer moves collided. The entire river of forgetfulness exploded with black water, and heaven and earth shook. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, covering the sun. All the players could not open their eyes due to the strong wind, and they were forced to retreat step by step. Countless trees behind them were uprooted. Is he crazy? Is he still human? Oh my God, this is a battle between gods. With a loud explosion, the two figures on the river of forgetfulness were sent flying at the same time. However, both of them only retreated halfway before forcefully stopping their momentum and colliding with each other again. Million Buddhas returned to origin, heaven and earth returned seal. Mu Xian used his strongest seal, and a huge Buddha hand blasted toward Lu Chen. Lu Chen had never seen such a terrifying move before. He did not dare to be careless. With the inner demon causing trouble, he also used his strongest attack. Buddha body clone. Void attack. Dragon piercing the 9 heavens. In the void attack mode, dragon piercing the 9 heavens also became a seal attack. A dragon claw directly blasted toward the Buddha hand. The two powerful seals collided, and heaven and earth instantly turned white. All the water in the river of forgetfulness was blasted into the sky, revealing countless bones on the riverbed. The two of them were directly blasted to the ground like 2 cannonballs, and directly sank into the riverbed. Just when everyone thought that the battle was finally over, 2 figures simultaneously jumped out of the bottomless pit. Mu Xian was furious, and the black gas around him exploded with an even more terrifying aura. He raised both his hands. Kid, you've angered me. River of forgetfulness soul. The black water of the river of forgetfulness turned into endless black gas, and crazily poured into Mu Xian's body. When the water evaporated, Lu Chen suddenly saw 2 shining spots on the riverbed. That girl's tears? However, the thing he was looking for was right in front of him. But Mu Xian was like a huge mountain in front of him, exploding with shocking battle power. Die. Million underworld soul. Endless black gas came crashing down like a tsunami. Lu Chen's chest violently rose and fell. Mu Xian was too strong. It seemed that he had to use that move. Fortunately, the second heaven was a war soul, and could be revived after death. The surrounding players should not die directly. You have the million underworld soul, but I have the underworld earth fire. Lu Chen roared. Burn for me. Earth fire burning heaven. Chapter 1109. The battle at the River of Forgetfulness had attracted a large number of curious players. Earthly fire burns the heavens. Lu Chen roared. The riverbed of the River of Forgetfulness suddenly shook violently. Then, the ground was instantly incinerated by the flames that erupted from the ground. Lu Chen had already intended to concentrate his attacks near Mu Xian. However, the strength of the players at stage 2 was too low. Even the surrounding heat was enough to burn them to death. Damn, didn't you say that it would be fine if we stayed further away? A player beside Tian Xiner cursed. His shield was instantly destroyed, and he was immediately incinerated. In the entire vicinity of the River of Forgetfulness, only Meng Pu and Tian Xiner, who were on the Bridge of Helplessness, had the ability to resist the aftershocks. Just the heat from the earthly fire was already so terrifying. Let alone the center of the earthly fire burns the heavens. At this moment, Mu Xian was already surrounded by a sea of fire. However, his souls of the underworld were also charging toward the raging flames. The black fog and the flames were like two enormous dragons that covered the sky, colliding and canceling each other out in midair. Tian Xiner only felt that the whole world was shaking. These two guys are too terrifying. Tian Xiner had no choice but to increase her defense. A little person appeared in her hand. It was the size of a thumb and looked like a human elder. It stood in her palm. After the little person appeared, he immediately summoned a spiritual shield and wrapped it around Tian Xiner. Little girl, this fire is a little fierce. The little person was also watching the battle at the River of Forgetfulness. He's the guy you like? Tian Xiner blushed and said softly, yes. He actually came to find trouble with the souls of the underworld. The little person looked at Lu Chen's back and narrowed his eyes. He has some guts. It's a pity that he's a human. The human race is a trash race that doesn't even have a godly pulse. Tian Xiner hurriedly defended Lu Chen. Master, the human race is weak, but he can fight against the gods and demons with a mortal body. Doesn't that mean that he's very powerful? The old man looked at Tian Xiner with a strange gaze. Oh, you're not even married yet, and you're already defending him? I'm not saying that he's weak. I'm just afraid that your future children will waste your purest celestial bloodline. It's his business that he's strong. But if the child doesn't have a pure celestial bloodline, the child might not be like him. Master had even considered the child. If Tian Xiner was not wearing a veil, her face would have turned red. Master, what child? He doesn't even know who I am. Tian Xiner said angrily. You're even planning to use a honey trap. My lass is so beautiful. She has the looks and the figure. Oh right lass, you're a C-cup now, right? TSK, no one in the world can compare to your figure. Once she took off her clothes, how could the child be far away? Unless he can't. The old man seriously considered this possibility. Master, Tian Xiner also couldn't stand such a dirty master. Her face darkened. How do you know me? Did you secretly ask around again? What do you mean by secretly inquiring about it? I asked Xiaoyan about it. As a master, I must always be concerned about the growth of my disciple. Let me tell you, it's not good for a girl to have too big a chest. It's hard to be flexible in a fight, especially when fighting against experts. But if it's too small, it's not attractive. Yours is just right. Master, Tian Xiner almost broke down. I shouldn't have called you out. The old man didn't feel angry at all. He glanced at Meng Pu, who was on the Bridge of Helplessness. Coincidentally, she was also looking in his direction. That old woman is still here? The old man muttered. Xiner, let me tell you, Meng Pu was also a flower back then. Her figure was much better than yours. Master, didn't you say that a girl's chest can't be too big? Can you stop messing things up? Just help me block the earth fire. Can you stop talking so much? Tian Xiner didn't have the energy to complain. The old man chuckled. Okay. I won't say any more. Let's see if that kid can win first. On the battlefield, Lu Chen and Mu Xian were in a stalemate. Soul of the 10,000 underworld against the earth fire burning the heavens. The monstrous flames and the pitch-black fog constantly cancelled each other out, as if there was no end to it. Both sides' spiritual power had reached a terrifying level, which was why they could maintain such a terrifying consumption of spiritual power. After a full 10 minutes, the earth fire finally gained the upper hand. It really is the underworld earth fire. Mu Xian's eyes widened. The underworld earth fire also had a restraining effect on him. Otherwise, he was absolutely confident that he could defeat Lu Chen. I crawled out from hell. Die for me. Lu Chen roared, and the flames instantly rose. The myriad underworld soul was defeated like a collapsing mountain, and was instantly engulfed by the flames. He won. That's quite easy. The little person in Tian Xner's hand said leisurely. I didn't expect that guy's flames to be the underworld earth fire. Even the myriad underworld soul couldn't withstand it. It's considered a trick. Tian Xner didn't dare to continue her master's words. Based on her understanding of her master, if she continued, he would quickly continue the conversation. Moreover, no matter what the topic was, he would be able to continue talking. The best way was to let him talk alone. The earth fire burns the heavens had directly depleted Lu Chen's spiritual power. He panted heavily as he watched Mu Xian burn in the flames. He couldn't bear it. However, he also knew that he couldn't give Mu Xian a second chance. He kept telling himself in his mind that that person wasn't Mu Xian. Attacking the void, sky-piercing sword. A white light flashed, and Lu Chen directly pierced through Mu Xian, who was struggling in the underworld earth fire. Perfectly sheathing his sword, Lu Chen glanced in the direction of the riverbed. His Buddha avatar was standing there. The two avatars had already obtained the 2 golden teardrops. When the avatar returned, Lu Chen already had 2 golden crystals in his hand. Were these the memories of that girl? Just as Lu Chen was about to leave, a familiar voice came from behind him. Lu Chen, you've become so strong. Lu Chen jerked his head back. The one who spoke was Mu Xian. However, his voice was completely different from before. It was no different from the real Mu Xian. Mu Xian. Lu Chen's eyes widened. His mind was in chaos. Mu Xian turned around and smiled at Lu Chen, just like when they first met on Divine Beast Mountain. Don't blame yourself. You didn't kill me. The river of forgetfulness also contains a trace of my memories. The soul of myriad underworld won't die. He only used my memories to duplicate me. When the soul of myriad underworld left, I regained a trace of consciousness. Mu Xian, where are you now? Mu Xian smiled. I've already been destroyed. This is a remnant of my soul. Lu Chen's eyes were moist. Is there no way to revive you? The dead can't be revived. Without becoming a true immortal, everyone has to face their final destination. I have no regrets, Mu Xian said calmly. However, his body was rapidly dissipating. To be able to see you again, and see that you still have your original heart is the greatest consolation. I didn't misjudge you back then. Oh right. If it's convenient, help this girl. She's the one I've let down the most. With that, Mu Xian's body completely dissipated. Chapter 11:10. Seeing Mu Xian's soul dissipate, Lu Chen let out a long sigh. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. In the end, Mu Xian was gone. Even Lu Chen could not do anything about it. But he left behind a mystery. Was this girl the one Mu Xian felt sorry for? What was going on? Mu Xian, whether it's for you or for myself, I will not leave her alone this time. Lu Chen said softly, and jumped back onto the bridge of helplessness. The 2 golden crystals were in his hands. He finally had the chance to see who the owner of the tears was. Senior Mengpa, how do I check? Lu Chen asked. Mengpa smiled. Leave it to me. Lu Chen handed the 2 teardrop-shaped crystals to Mengpa. Mengpa waved her hand and the 2 teardrops floated in front of them. Then a few images appeared. The images were from a first-person perspective. Lu Chen could not see the owner of the memories. He could only check them one by one. The ancient battlefield. She was transported to an unfamiliar arena. This was her first time participating in an ancient battlefield competition. She was nervous and excited. I hope my opponent is strong. However, when her opponent appeared, she almost broke down. It had the body of a large spider, and its 8 slender legs were like sharp thorns. Behind it was a thick snake tail that was several meters long. This spider also had the upper body of a knoll, and a head floated to the side. Upon closer inspection, the head was even more terrifying. It was a tiger's head with a pair of wooden horns. Its eyes were red. She had never seen such a terrifying monster in the Jiutian. And this terrifying creature was still letting out muffled cries of ah. Ah. Ghost. Don't come over. This time, she did not even have the courage to fight such a terrifying creature. She immediately fled. When she returned to her own world, she did not hesitate to challenge the more difficult ancient battlefield to avoid that terrifying creature. However, when she saw that monster again, she completely broke down and immediately withdrew from the competition. She met that guy 3 times in a row. It was as if a demon had its eyes on her. For the next few days, that terrifying head would appear in her dreams and revolve around her. Next was the scene of the second heaven. She was currently farming in the wild with Xiaotian, Hashiman, and the others. Their group was very strong. The 5 of them could already pull 3 or 4 monsters together. At this speed, they would be able to reach the main city of the sacred mountain very soon. However, just as everyone was happily farming, several hundred silver moon werewolves suddenly charged out from afar. After a bitter battle, the team was wiped out. The person who pulled the large group of monsters in front of them was a young human in his 20s. Later, she found out that the kid was called Solipsistic. After that, he offended the sacred mountain and was hunted by them. But they also had more interactions with each other. Later on, she learned that Solipsistic had been killed by a super powerful skill on the immortal spirit mountain, and her mood fell to the extreme. However, she still had the mission of her family and could not stop. She went to Solipsistic's Earth Alliance and handed over the equipment that he left with her to the Wild Waves Guild. She also learned about Solipsistic's past from Lung Nua and the others. She understood Solipsistic more and more, but the more she understood, the more important he was in her heart. Solipsistic seemed to be a cold person, but when the Earth players were besieged by Stage 2 players, and when the powerhouses of the Heart Refining Academy came to kill the Earth players, Solipsistic would always be the first to stand up. He silently protected the Earth. The scene changed again. That time, the Wood Mansion's team fought against the Stage 3 expert of the Heart Refining Academy. She finally risked everything for that person, and fought the Stage 3 world expert Green Wolf to the death. Fortunately, Solipsistic arrived in time. After defeating Green Wolf, Lu Chen killed a large number of Earth players. She immediately saw through Lu Chen's intentions. He wanted to draw a clear line between himself and the Earth players, so that his enemies would not find the Earth players again. That time, she and Solipsistic sat at the peak of the mountain and watched the sunset together. They chatted about unimportant topics, but they did not feel awkward at all. It was a comfortable and natural situation. Seeing this, Lu Chen already knew who this girl was. Wood Mansion's Jiu Air. Because Mengpa would delete all her memories of Lu Chen. Even the memories of when she first met Lu Chen in his monster form in the ancient battlefield were sealed. They had interacted in the Stage 2 and Stage 2, but after the Stage 2, Lu Chen did not have any news of her. Jiu Air. Lu Chen murmured. She regarded him as the most important person, but he did not know. Do you know who that girl is? Mengpa looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded blankly. Her memories have not ended yet. Continue watching. Lu Chen was a little surprised. Didn't Mengpa delete only the information related to him? That was probably the extent of his interactions with Jiu Er. With doubts, Lu Chen continued watching. This was an elegant boudoir. 2 men pushed open the door and entered. One was a middle-aged man, and the other was actually Mu Xian. Jiu Er. Father, grandfather. Jiu Er, you will be going to Jiutian soon. Are you ready? The middle-aged man's expression was strange, as if he had a lot on his mind. Father, I am ready. But what treasure does the family want me to cultivate? The girl looked very expectant. Mu Xian sighed. Jiu Er, I was just about to tell you about this. Jiu Er also noticed that her grandfather's expression was a little strange. She frowned. Grandfather, what do you want to say? The family's test results are out. Your. Mu Xian could not continue. It was Jiu Er's father who continued. Your body is suitable to carry that treasure. Jiu could not help but take a few steps back. This news was like a bolt from the blue. Father, grandfather, you are talking about the dark erosion. Her father's eyes were red. He pursed his lips and nodded. After a long time, he said, the dark erosion is a treasure left behind by my Mu Manor's ancestors. However, no one in the family has a compatible physique. I did not expect Jiu to. Wuxia also had a lonely expression. The one he loved the most was Jiu, but fate had arranged things in such a way. He was caught off guard. Jiu, grandfather is useless. In the end, I cannot become a true immortal. I cannot save the Taiwu star. I can only rely on you. I always say that the most precious thing to a person is the right to choose. But I did not allow you to choose. I am sorry, Jiu. The scene changed. The girl was already standing in front of the bridge of helplessness. Faced with Granny Meng's harsh demands, Xiao Tian suggested that the family take out some gold coins. For the Mu Manor, this was still something they could take out. However, Jiu stopped her brother. Brother, there is no need. Jiu, we do not need to forget the most important person. Xiao Tian said, puzzled. Jiu faintly smiled. Her smile was bleak and helpless. That thing will sooner or later devour my consciousness. I would rather leave my most precious memories here. At the very least, this proves that I once existed. Seeing this, Lu Qin was even more shocked. Others had no choice but to give up their most precious memories. But Jiu chose to forever seal her most precious memories in the river of forgetfulness. Chapter 11:11. The truth was finally out, and all the doubts were finally settled. What treasure did Jiu have? Why Lu Qin hadn't heard from Jiu for so long? Why did Mu Xian feel like he owed Jiu? Everything was clear now. It wasn't that Jiu couldn't afford to cross the bridge of helplessness. As the Mu Manor's first daughter, 1,000,000 gold coins wasn't something the Mu Manor couldn't afford. Mu Xian had said that he owed Jiu the most. It turned out that it was because of the treasure called Dark Erosion. The Mu Manor's newcomers all carried treasures with them when they came out for training. Jiu's treasure was the Dark Erosion. This also explained why Mu Xian had hoped that Lu Qin would marry Jiu. He had hoped that Lu Qin could help Jiu. However, Lu Qin didn't know anything at that time. After that, he hadn't even seen Jiu. Moreover, for Lu Qin, even if she said she liked him in front of him, it was likely that something unexpected would happen. Not to mention hiding it in her heart. He definitely wouldn't be able to tell. Jiu. Lu Qin frowned. Senior Mengpa, do you know what the Dark Erosion is? Mengpa looked at Lu Qin and pondered for a moment before saying, the Jiutian has endless opportunities. It has existed for countless years, so there are many things that didn't originally exist in the Jiutian. However, over the long years, whether it was naturally formed or some other world that invaded the Jiutian, they all became a part of this place. Lu Qin frowned. He had too much right to say about these things that didn't belong to the Jiutian. Senior Mengpa, you mean that the Dark Erosion didn't originally belong to the Jiutian? Things that didn't belong to the Jiutian were all abnormally powerful. This was obvious just by looking at the little fur ball. It was an existence that could devour Jiutian. It's not hard to tell from the child's memories. As time passed, it would devour, take over. I don't know how to describe it. In short, it would occupy the child's consciousness. It should have a consciousness, and an extremely terrifying thing. Devouring Jiu's consciousness. Lu Qin's eyelids twitched. Unfortunately, Lu Qin found out too late. According to Mengpa, that girl might have already become his enemy. It was all because he hadn't arrived in time. Senior Mengpa, do you know where Jiu is now? I'm not sure, but if the Dark Erosion awakens, you might be able to see her soon. After all, you have the sky-devouring god-slaying rat, which is a creature similar to the Dark Erosion. You know that two tigers cannot live on the same mountain, don't you? Lu Qin furrowed his brows. Could it be that Jiu, or no, it should be the Dark Corrosion, would harm the little fur ball? From the looks of it, whether it was for Jiu or Mu Xian, or the little fur ball, he needed to get rid of this hidden danger. Lu Qin carefully put away the two crystals and looked around. The water of the river of forgetfulness, which had almost evaporated, actually formed new water on its own. It was just that at this moment, the water of the river of forgetfulness had already regained its calm. The riverbank had already collapsed, and the river of forgetfulness had become even wider than before. His gaze landed on a girl over there. He had already noticed before. How could there be anyone in the second heaven who could withstand the residual power of his earth fire? It was just that he had been fighting with the soul of 10,000 underworld at that time, so he hadn't paid much attention. After bidding farewell to Mengpa, Luchen flew towards Tian Xian. It's the dark erosion. The little person in Tian Xian. Er's hand had a serious expression, but before it could say anything, it saw Luchen coming over. Xian, he's here. Do you see? He has other women. If you really like him, I won't object. But if you want to get him, you have to be fast. You have to use any means necessary to succeed. Master. Tian Xian stomped her feet. Her master was driving her crazy. Okay, I won't say anything else. I'll leave first. After the little person finished speaking, it suddenly disappeared from Tian Xian's hand. Before it left it said, Xian, do your best. I'll depend on you to carry my grand disciple. At that moment, Luchen had already arrived in front of Tian Xian. When he saw her, Luchen's eyes were filled with surprise. It's you? What are you doing here? Tian Xian. Er's mind was in a mess because of her master's words. Now that Luchen was standing in front of her, she couldn't help but feel nervous. I followed you. Ah? No. Xian. Realized that she had let it slip and hurriedly corrected herself. No, that it's like this. I just happened to be at the second heaven to settle some matters. I saw a fight here, so I came over to take a look. Who knew it was you? Haha, what a coincidence. Luchen's brows furrowed. This woman was the young mistress of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. She also came to the second heaven to settle some matters? That's really quite a coincidence. Luchen muttered. Tian Xian, don't tell anyone about my fight with the soul of 10,000 underworld just now. Zhongxinggu is afraid that I'll come out and cause trouble. The commotion just now was a little too big. Tian Xian was secretly delighted. Luchen actually wanted her to help keep a secret. He was treating her as one of his own. Don't worry, I definitely won't tell anyone. And that let's leave this place first. I'm afraid that more people will come later and find us. We'll be in trouble. We need to keep a low profile. Keep a low profile? Tian Xian couldn't help but sneak a glance at Luchen. Why didn't you keep a low profile just now? However, now was also a good opportunity to leave with Luchen. Luchen directly summoned Ten-Winged. Come, I'll take you with me. Where are you going? Tian Xian stared with wide eyes at the flying dragon that Luchen was sitting on, speechless for a long time. It was her first time seeing a 10-winged heavenly dragon. Didn't you say that we need to keep a low profile? It's fine. When we're on 10-winged, others can't see us. Let's hurry up and leave this place first. Tian Xian got on the mount. 10-winged seemed to be a little dissatisfied with the stranger riding on it, and let out a roar. 10-winged, why is your temper even worse than before? She's my friend. Luchen patted 10-winged. Only then did 10-winged settle down, spread its wings, and soared into the sky. The two of them casually landed in a dense forest. Luchen said to Tian Xian, all right, we're far enough from the bridge of helplessness. Are you still going to stay in the second heaven? Tian Xian didn't answer directly. Are you done with your business? Luchen sighed. I'm done here, but I'm going to look for Jiao. Tian Xian also saw the girl's memories and frowned. But once the dark erosion awakens, her growth speed is extremely fast. She shouldn't be in the second heaven anymore. Luchen nodded. When I met her in the second heaven, it was already a few years ago. Even if the dark erosion didn't happen, she should have gone to a higher heaven domain long ago. Previously, I heard that she had been to my hometown's territory. I guess she might have come to the lower realm. So, I plan to go to a higher heaven domain to take a look. Tian Xian had seen Jiao's memories. Originally, she didn't have a good impression of Jiao. After all, she was a love rival. However, after seeing Jiaoer's situation, Tian Xian also became interested in this girl. Moreover, before Master left, he had mentioned the dark erosion very seriously. Something that could make Master value it so much was definitely not a small matter. Then how are you going to go to the third heaven? Go back to the sixth heaven first, then teleport to the third heaven? Lu Chen shook his head. I'm afraid that Zhongxian Gu won't let me use the lower realm's teleportation so frequently. So I plan to use another teleportation gate. Another teleportation gate? Where is it? Yes. With that, Lu Chen looked at the towering heaven-reaching tower, not far away. There. Chapter 11-12. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Tian Xian stammered. I'm done here. I'm going to the advanced heavenly region to take a look. Lu Chen looked at Tian Xian in surprise. What a coincidence. But I'm in a weakened state now. I'll need 12 hours to recover. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. Late at night, Lu Chen and Tian Xian arrived at the second heaven of Tong Tian Tower. They didn't expect there to be so many people here. Many teams were making their final preparations in front of the Tong Tian Tower. Everyone, pay attention. We must strictly follow the pre-battle arrangements. Don't mess up after encountering the boss. Check if you have enough healing potions and chi mixing pills. This boss is very difficult to kill. We can't afford any problems. Seeing how nervous these people were, Lu Chen couldn't help but think of himself. They were all newbies. They hadn't even seen the tip of the iceberg of the ninth heaven. At this moment, many people's gazes fell on Tian Xian. This woman only revealed her eyes, and many men couldn't help but peek. Wow, what a beautiful woman. She's like a fairy. Who is she? Why haven't I seen her before? Her eyes are so beautiful. They're so clear and pure. Being stared at by a group of people, Tian Xian was a little nervous. She followed closely beside Lu Chen. Nameless, they're all looking at me. I am a little scared. Can I hold on to you? After saying that, she looked at Lu Chen with a pair of big, pitiful eyes, full of expectation. Lu Chen smiled. Miss, if you really want to fight, they won't even be enough to fill the gaps between your teeth. But I'm still a girl. Girl? In Jiutian, the strength of women is also very strong. Tian Xian was speechless after hearing Lu Chen's words. She couldn't find a new excuse. This guy. He decisively rejected her. It seemed like her first attempt had failed. Tian Xian could only find a new topic to talk about. Nameless, I haven't tried to challenge the Tong Tian Tower in the lower realm. Is it really okay? I don't know either. However, the Jiutian didn't say that we can't repeat the challenge. As long as we don't bring anyone with us and don't think about dropping any equipment, we'll be fine as long as we don't disrupt the second heaven's order. Tian Xian nodded and could only follow behind Lu Chen. Speaking of grade 2 domain bosses, Lu Chen still remembered that he had defeated Master Spiritual Martial Apothecary in the Tong Tian Tower. It was also that time that Little Green had decided to follow him. After the Spiritual Martial Apothecary's hidden quest was completed, he wondered if the current boss had changed. Just as the two of them were about to enter the Tong Tian Tower, someone suddenly called out to Lu Chen. Hey brat, you want to enter Tong Tian Tower? Just the two of you? Lu Chen turned around and saw a long-faced human. His gaze was fixed on Tian Xian. You should know that there's only one person in District 19 who can solo the Tong Tian Tower. Are you going to bring such a beautiful girl to die with you? Lu Chen smiled. What does it have to do with you whether I go to Tong Tian Tower or not? That person snorted. Your life and death has nothing to do with me. However, I can't watch this beauty suffer with you. This boss has double pain damage. Pain damage? Lu Chen had almost forgotten that there was such a thing in grade 2 heaven. After all, he was fighting with his original body. Beauty, come with our team. Our team is very strong. This time we'll definitely pass. That man looked at Tian Xian with a dark expression. Scram! Tian Xian shouted. However, she soon realized that something was wrong. Tian Xian was the young mistress of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, one of the strongest forces in grade 6 heaven. Although she treated Lu Chen like this, She was definitely fiercer than anyone else. Even in grade 6 heaven, no one dared to have any ideas about her. It would be strange if Tian Xian had a good face when meeting such a person. However, she was so angry that she forgot that Lu Chen was right beside her. Wouldn't that be letting Lu Chen see her unladylike side? It's over. As expected, Lu Chen looked at Tian Xian in shock. This was completely different from the impression she gave him at the beginning. However, her fierce look made Lu Chen look at her in a new light. However, the person who was scolded by Tian Xian had a dark expression. You actually dare to talk to me like that? Do you know who we are? Tian Xian's mind was filled with the problem of her image. She didn't have time to care about him. You'll be scared to death if I tell you. That person had a proud look on his face. Have you heard of Solipsistic? He's the only super expert who can solo purgatory difficulty heaven domain bosses. Our guild has teamed up with his Wild Wave guild several times. Lu Chen couldn't react in time. These people had teamed up with Wild Wave before? No, Wild Wave's people had already gone to 4th or 5th heaven. Moreover, Wild Wave's core members had their own teams. It was possible that they had teamed up with some outer guild members. However, was there a need to say this out loud? Let me tell you, Wild Wave is our friend. Lu Chen felt his scalp go numb. What kind of friend was this? I'm sorry, Wild Wave doesn't have friends like you. Lu Chen didn't waste any more words, and directly revealed his ID. The only golden ID Wild Wave guild leader, Solipsistic. When this ID appeared, everyone's attention was drawn to it. It's Wild God. Golden ID, that's right, it can't be wrong. No one else has this ID, only Wild God has a golden ID. Oh my god, this is Wild God himself. That long-faced man was stunned on the spot as his entire body trembled. Lu Chen's guess was right. They had teamed up with some of Wild Wave's lower-level disciples once or twice. They had nothing to do with Wild Wave at all. Usually, they could use this to scare people, but now they were facing Wild Wave's guild leader. It was the legend of Second Heaven District 19, Solipsistic. Lu Chen looked at that person indifferently and said coldly, "Any more questions?" No more questions. Wild God, yes, I was blind. I didn't know this fairy sister was your woman. If I knew, I wouldn't have dared to offend her. Please calm down, Wild God. These words were very pleasing to Tian Xianer's ears. She pulled Lu Chen's sleeve and said, "Let them go. It seems like they didn't do it on purpose." Lu Chen smiled slightly. He didn't plan to argue with these newcomers. Got it. Let's go and take a look at the third heaven. After saying that, he directly stepped into Tong Tian Tower. Looking at Lu Chen's back, the long-faced man realized that his back was completely wet. Was this the pressure brought by Wild God? Even if he didn't have the intention to make a move, just seeing his name was enough to make people respect him to such an extent. Why did Wild God come back to challenge the tower? Was Wild God's level killed by someone, and had to challenge the tower again? Oh right, there's a live broadcast of the Sky Domain boss battle. Let's take a look. Someone shouted loudly. People quickly went offline. However, just as they saw the live broadcast on the Galaxy's official website, the screen showed a man in a purple robe lying on the ground. Wild God was leading the beautiful woman into the portal. The rumors of Wild God being killed by someone else were dispelled. The battle hadn't even started, but it was already over. Chapter 11-13. There was no news of Jiu, in the third and fourth heavens. At the fourth heavens, Lu Chen realized that he could no longer challenge the Tong Tian Tower. He couldn't enter the Tong Tian Tower. Why can't I go up? Lu Chen was a little anxious. Maybe there's a qualitative change in the fifth heavens, Tian Xianer said. Lu Chen thought about it. That might be the problem. Damn it, the Wood Manor said that she might be in the fifth heavens, but I can't go there. Even the Wood Manor didn't know where Jiu was. They only knew that she entered the fifth heavens a few months ago. Now Lu Chen was sure that Jiu was controlled by the dark erosion. Otherwise, the Wood Manor would know where Jiu was. Starting from the fifth heavens, the body transmigrated. That meant that as long as Jiu didn't return to her original world, the Wood Manor wouldn't know where she was. Seeing Lu Chen's worried look, Tian Xian'er felt sad. Lu Chen, if Jiu is in the 5th heavens, let's go back to the 6th heavens first. Then, we'll wait for the lower realm teleportation gate to recover. I'll ask my father to open the lower realm teleportation gate, and let us go to the 5th heavens. Lu Chen sighed. Even if she's in the 5th heavens, the 5th heavens is already very big. It's easier said than done to find someone. Moreover, if Jiu is really in the 5th heavens, it only means that the dark erosion's growth is faster than I thought. Then when we go to the 5th heavens, she might not be there anymore. Mengpa said that if Jiu reached the 6th heavens, she would definitely find him. Perhaps, instead of continuing to search without any clues, it would be better to wait for Jiu. Or to find him. Oh, right, didn't you say that you had something to do? Lu Chen suddenly thought of this girl. She had been following him around, and didn't seem to have dealt with his matters. I also want to go to the 5th heavens. Looks like I can only go next time. Tian Xian'er stammered. Lu Chen didn't think too much about it. Since the two of them didn't need to stay in the 4th heavens, they both returned to the 6th heavens. Tian Xian'er returned to the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. She didn't know where her father had gone. Tian Xian'er returned to her room and summoned her master. Girl, you've been alone with that silly boy for so long, and nothing happened? What happened to the honey trap? Tian Xian'er rested her cheeks on her hands and looked out the window for a long time. He has something on his mind, so he shouldn't be thinking about other things. Something's bothering him? I think you have something on your mind. Master, do you know what dark erosion is? I know. Why? Don't tell me you want to help that girl? She's your rival in love. Look at how much Lu Chen cares about that girl. If you really want to compete, you might not necessarily win. The little man jumped onto the table and ate the fruits on the fruit plate without restraint. I know, but that girl is so pitiful. Aya, hurry up and tell me what dark erosion is. Seeing that his disciple was so anxious, the little man smiled and said, all right. This is indeed not a small matter. When your father comes back, you have to tell him too. Lu Chen has the life-defying divine demon set, but do you know that the life-defying divine demon set is not a complete set? I've seen it in the Immortal Palace's equipment guide. Tian Xian'er recalled and said, the life-defying divine demon set is strong, and can be said to be able to defy the heavens and change one's fate. However, no one has ever collected this set of equipment because the strongest piece of equipment, the heaven-defying divine demon, doesn't even exist in Jiutian. The little man nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that his disciple had memorized the guide well. That's right. The heaven-defying divine demon set is very strange. It clearly doesn't exist, but it has its own name. In short, no one has ever obtained this set of equipment since ancient times. If you have the heaven-defying divine demon set, then the life-defying divine demon set would definitely be the strongest set. However, because it lacks the heaven-defying divine demon set, the life-defying divine demon set can only be considered a top-tier set. In Jiutian, there are other sets that can be compared to the life-defying divine demon set, the little man said as he ate some fruit. Master, why are you telling me so much about the life-defying divine demon set? I'm asking about the dark erosion. Tian Xian'er said impatiently. The dark erosion is the core equipment of the dark erosion chaotic set. This dark erosion chaotic set is a set that can be compared to the incomplete life-defying divine demon set. Tian Xian'er's eyes widened. If it could be compared to the life-defying divine demon set, then the dark erosion chaotic set was very terrifying. The dark erosion chaotic set also doesn't belong to Jiutian. It's extremely powerful, but at the same time, it also has a fatal flaw. The dark erosion is a kind of cultivation technique. You can probably think of it as Lu Chen's 9 transformations of the celestial demon. The dark erosion is also known as the dark erosion mysterious Yin skill. The little man finally returned to the main topic. This cultivation technique is very strange. To cultivate the dark erosion mysterious Yin skill, one has to meet very strict physical conditions. One has to have a body of extreme darkness. You have to know that there aren't many people in Jiutian who have this body type. Tian Xian'er frowned. No wonder the Mu clan had passed down for so long that only Jiu could carry the dark erosion. But master, what's with the dark erosion? Tian Xiner asked. The dark erosion is damaged, decayed, and exhausted. After cultivating the dark erosion, one's soul will be damaged. The dark erosion cultivation technique is very strange. Not only can it breed inner demons, but it also seems to have a life of its own. When cultivated to a certain level, it will join forces with the inner demons to seize the body's consciousness. After that, even the inner demons of the body will be replaced. Finally, the person who cultivates the dark erosion will be able to control their own body of darkness and become a true life form. Tian Xiner was dumbfounded. The dark erosion was too horrifying. She didn't expect that someone would cultivate such a strange cultivation technique. Of course, the girl's family must have known the result. They must have used a special method to protect their world of origin with the dark corrosion. The dwarf heaved a sigh. It's a pity that the dark corrosion will keep looking for other components of the suit after gaining control of the body. At the same time, they'll be interested in other powerful equipment, pets, and holy spirits. I'm afraid that they won't be able to control the monster that they cultivate in the end. Tian Xiner finally understood why even her master attached great importance to this matter. It was easy to deal with the awakened dark erosion, but the dark erosion had become a horrifying monster after collecting the dark erosion chaos suit. Jiu must care a lot about Lu Qin, so leaving the most important memories in the river of forgetfulness is the wisest choice. Tian Xiner mumbled. One day, I will die, and the memories of you will be sealed in the river of forgetfulness. Girl, I don't think you should think about that boy. He's a jinx. If I'm not mistaken, Jiu will definitely come to him, the little man said. And he will either kill the girl, or be killed by the dark erosion. Regardless of which choice he makes, it will be extremely cruel to him. But he has no other choice. This is his fate. Chapter 11:14. Little Green helped Lu Chun brew a cup of tea. Looking at the 2 crystal teardrops in his hand, Lu Chun, who was deep in thought, couldn't help but ask, Boss, Zhongxingge said that we can only use the teleportation array after a month. What should we do next? Lu Chun shook his head. I think Lu Yi and the others have already reached the 5th heaven. Instead of going to the 5th heaven alone, I might as well return to the real world and ask the people of the Earth Union to help me find her. However, from the 3rd and 4th heaven regions, Jiu doesn't seem to have caused any commotion. If she really keeps a low profile, I'm afraid that the Earth Union won't be able to find her. If that's the case, I can only wait for her to find me. Little Green looked at Lu Qin worriedly. If Miss Jiu finds you, how are you going to face her? Lu Qin didn't answer immediately. He looked at the teardrop in his hand in a daze. After a long time he said, I don't know either. Although the Demonic Academy was still a lower academy, its reputation in prosperous origin continent was unparalleled. Although the Demonic Academy didn't have priority in recruiting, there was an endless stream of talented disciples who came because of its reputation. They could recruit a few people every day. The business district at the foot of Intentionless Mountain became lively because of the large number of newcomers. The Black Armor King began to develop the local economy and open up more businesses. In addition, Zhongxingge made an exception and allowed the people of the Demonic Academy to use their teleportation array after paying a certain amount of spirit stones. They could send people to other continents to recruit new people after that. Only the Immortal Academy had the right to do this. Lu Qin handed this matter to Grey Crow and Bai Yi. The 2 of them brought about 8 disciples and formed a recruitment team from other continents. They began to travel to other continents. At the headquarters, many academies sent representatives to discuss matters, hoping to establish a relationship with the Demonic Academy. The Demonic Academy temporarily regained its peace. It quickly recovered its vitality and developed rapidly. 1.5 months later, Grey Crow and Bai Yi brought 3 newcomers back to the Demonic Academy to participate in the Test Spaces test. Lu Qin watched it personally. It wasn't that the 3 newcomers were famous. The main reason was that the Demonic Academy already had a population of 1798. If 2 of the 3 successfully entered the demonic academy, then the demonic academy would be able to unseal the teleportation portal, including Lu Chen. The disciples of the demonic academy had not returned to their original world for a long time. Grey Crow's eyes were quite sharp. The 3 people he brought back had all been in the testing space for more than 8 minutes. Lu Chen let out a long sigh of relief and whispered to Grey Crow, "Remove the sign that says 10 million spirit stones for exceeding 10 minutes. Grey Crow understood what he meant. Now that the scope of their enrollment had expanded, it was inevitable that a few super geniuses would appear. In any case, their academy already had decent strength, so there was no need for them to use this method to attract others to test themselves. Now that the number of people in the academy had reached the requirement, Lu Chen immediately went to the teleportation array of the original Wunyan Academy and unsealed the teleportation array. Opening the Academy's information template, there was a description of the teleportation array. Teleportation array, original world teleportation. It can be used 100 times per month. Must return to the 6th heaven within 3 days after using it. Otherwise, must wait for 30 days to recharge and reconnect the teleportation array with the original world's login device. A sea of clouds said, "Nameless, students need to spend academy contribution points to use the teleportation array. I suggest that it be set at 2,000 academy contribution points per use. It's best to reserve 30 uses as a backup in case someone needs to use it urgently and has no more uses. It's not difficult to earn 2,000 academy contribution points. The academy usually won't make things difficult for students when it comes to returning to their original world. The main reason is to prevent students from using it repeatedly. After all, the number of times the teleportation array can be used each month is limited." Lu Chen nodded. "Old C, you're more considerate. No problem, it's settled then. Nameless, you're in such a hurry to set up the teleportation array. Do you have something urgent to go back to?" A sea of clouds suddenly asked. Even when the academy opened the 10 halls, the dean was not in such a hurry. This time, the dean was obviously in a hurry. "Yes, I have to go back to take care of some things." Lu Chen did not say it out loud. A sea of clouds nodded. "Go then. The academy is now on the right track. We'll be watching over it." A familiar dizziness came over him. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the gaming cabin. Ever since the 5th heaven changed to a physical teleportation array, the gaming cabin had become a vertical gaming cabin. Lu Chen gently touched the familiar cabin door. He was finally home. Pushing open the cabin door, his room was still spotless. It seemed that Lu Yi had just helped him clean his room. Noisy chatter came from downstairs. Lu Chen pushed open the door and walked out. Lu Yi Li Muhua, Leng Nua, Ning Shuang, Feng Lingzi Luo Xiaohe, Floral, 10 Steps, and many of the core members of the Madwaves Guild were downstairs. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with suspicion. What was going on? Was he dreaming? Lu Yi was chatting with the others when she suddenly noticed a figure upstairs. She looked up. "Brother." The room suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked up to the 2nd floor. There was a tall man standing on the railing. "Leader." "Master." "My Chun." "Brother Chun." Immediately after, a group of people jumped from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor, which was 3 to 4 meters high, and pounced on Lu Chen. "Damn you guys, you guys. Hey, don't push, I'm going to fall." Before Lu Chen could say anything, he was tightly surrounded by a group of people. They broke through the railing on the 2nd floor, and a large group of people fell from the 2nd floor. Fortunately, this group of people were the elites of the Madwaves Guild. Their attributes were already incomparable to normal people, so no one was injured. Lu Chen looked at his own railing with heartache. With such luxurious decorations, it would cost at least 1,000 yuan to fix it. Speaking of which, Lu Chen had lost the concept of money for a long time. From the gold coins in the 2nd heaven to the spirit stones he used now, which one of them wasn't priceless? Money had become the lowest form of currency. "Brother, you're finally willing to come back." Lu Yi's eyes were red. She stared at Lu Chen happily and angrily. How come you're more than 8 meters now? Did you have a second puberty?" "Hey, it's not that I didn't want to come back. Anyway, it's a long story. But why are you all here? Li Muhua rushed to explain. Chen, you don't know, right? That kid Beishue Gufei proposed to Lu Yi. Lu Chen was shocked. He stared at Lu Yi with his eyes wide open. Lu Yi was embarrassed by her brother's stare. She said softly, "Brother, I'm already in my 20s. Although cultivation can extend one's life, medical experts still recommend people to get married and have children according to their previous age." Medical experts? What do they know? She's a few hundred years old and still looks like a little girl. Lu Chen said disdainfully. Leng Nuan smiled and said, "Nameless Gufei is really good to Lu Yi. He also often helps Earth's players, especially our mad waves. He even protected us a few times." Indeed, that kid Gufei's character is unquestionable. Even Li Muhua agreed. Lu Chen frowned. Gufei was a good person, but he still couldn't accept marrying his sister off so suddenly. This was his sister whom he depended on for survival. Chapter 11:15. Lu Yi, Leng Nua, and the others had been together in violent waves for almost 10 years. After entering level 4, they had been like this many times. Lu Yi had encountered such a big matter, and Lu Chen was not around, so she wanted to discuss it with them. Her brother was like a father. Now that Lu Chen had returned, he would naturally be Lu Yi's guardian. "Brother, do you think it's okay?" Lu Yi stared at Lu Chen nervously. Although Lu Chen could not bear to part with his sister, he knew that his sister would eventually get married. If she wanted to get married, then Gufei was indeed a good choice. Lu Chen sighed. Gufei is a good guy, but you two are in two different worlds. You can't possibly marry him in the future, right? Brother, we will spend most of our time in Jiutian. Unless necessary, we don't need to go to each other's world. Lu Yi said. It's just that we have to apply for each other to come to our world. After all, if we want to get married, we need to understand each other's situation in the real world. Lu Chen nodded. If it was in Jiutian, then it was still acceptable. How about this? Don't be in a hurry to agree to Gufei's proposal. I'll settle the matters at hand and go to their world with you to take a look. Brother, you agree? Lu Yi looked at Lu Chen excitedly. Lu Chen snorted. I didn't say that I agree. I have to investigate before giving them an answer. Then Lu Chen patted Lu Yi's head lovingly. Fatty, you've grown up. Brother can't stop you from finding your own happiness. Brother. Lu Yi's eyes were filled with tears. No matter what happens in the future, I won't leave you. You're my brother, the person closest to me. With Lu Chen's reply, Lu Yi's matter was officially put on the agenda. They only needed to wait for the Beishue family's reply. After Lu Yi's matter was temporarily settled, Lu Chen looked at his friends and had a good chat with them. Violent Wave's development was very fast. The Guide project was also becoming more and more powerful. The strength of the Earth's players was rising rapidly. More and more Earth players entered the Fifth Heaven. In the Fifth Heaven, they formed a new country with the natives, which was developing rapidly. They chatted until it was almost noon, and 10 Steps began to prepare the food. 10 Steps was not good at cultivation, but his cooking skills were not low. He was already a 7-star cooking master. The others were also helping him prepare the ingredients. The kitchen and living room were bustling with activity. In fact, ever since Lu Chen bought the villa, his house had never been so lively. Looking at everyone's busy figures, Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh. In these 10 years in Jiutian, he had already made so many friends. In the crowd, Lu Chen saw Li Muhua and pulled him over. Muhua, how is the Fifth Heaven Dongyu country? Are you asking the East Peak Nation or the East Peak Nation's ruler? Li Muhua looked at Lu Chen with a gaze that seemed to see through everything. Seeing that Lu Chen was a little embarrassed, Li Muhua caught the reaction he wanted. He grinned. Hehe, I knew it. After all, Kong Luoyao is so beautiful, and she still can't forget you. She would ask about your situation when she has nothing to do. There must be something between the two of you. Sigh, it's a pity. You know, many girls who like you have to accept the cruel reality. Lu Chen rolled his eyes at Li Muhua. Since when did you speak so inexplicably? Which girl likes me? No one likes you. Li Muhua's eyes widened. Are you a straight man made of titanium? Damn, I'm going to die from anger. I thought you didn't find a girlfriend because your standards were too high. So it's because you're stupid. Lu Chen frowned. I'm stupid? Let me tell you, when it comes to relationships, I'm an expert. Many people have consulted me about relationships. Li Muhua sucked in a breath of cold air. Expert? You really think so? Not only are you a straight man, but the people around you are also straight men. Forget it. I'm not going to talk about this with you. I'm a single person, and I'm actually worried about a man who lives in a field of flowers. I'm afraid that if I help you analyze, I'll have a heart attack. In short, cherish the people around you. Luoyao has lost a lot of weight. She really wants to look for you. But Dongyu country can't be without a ruler. So, Sai, once she likes you, it's really hopeless. Lu Chen frowned. Why is it hopeless? Your growth is too fast, so fast that no one can keep up with you. Li Muhua said bitterly. To be honest, I'm also worried about your marriage. You tell me, who can accompany you forever like this? I really don't know which woman can make you stop. Lu Chen was slightly lost in thought. Luoyao lost weight? His heart was somewhat distressed. I can't stop, Lu Chen suddenly said blankly. Forget it, let's not talk about Luoyao. Take me to the Earth Alliance tomorrow. I want you to help me find someone in the fifth heaven. Find someone? Oh, a very dangerous woman. Li Muhua suddenly became serious. If even Lu Chen said that she was a dangerous woman, then this matter must be taken seriously. Okay, the headquarters have been moved to the Pacific Islands. I'll transfer a fighter jet over. The road in front of the community has been requisitioned and has been converted into a runway. It's very convenient. Lu Chen shook his head. No need to go through so much trouble. I'll take you with my mount tomorrow. You can inform the Earth Alliance today. Lu Chen had a taisho, and its speed was very fast. Li Muhua knew this. Okay, I'll inform the higher-ups now. The next morning, Li Muhua came to call Lu Chen. Chen, let's go. Lu Chen walked out of the villa and realized that there was not enough space around. He thought for a while and said to Li Muhua, let's go to the Royal Hotel. Aren't we going to the headquarters? Li Muhua asked, puzzled. Just follow me. Lu Chen did not care and grabbed Li Muhua. 7 stars chasing the moon. Vist. Li Muhua did not understand what was going on, and was already dragged out by Lu Chen. A few minutes later, the two of them had reached the 28th floor of the Royal Hotel. Li Muhua could not take this speed, and was still in shock. Chen, are you trying to take revenge on me because I called you stupid yesterday? How can you keep using this displacement technique? I'm about to throw up. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at the pale Li Muhua. He smiled eerily. You can't take it anymore? It'll be more exciting later. Come jump off the building with me. What? Before Li Muhua could react, he was already pulled by Lu Chen and jumped down from the Royal Hotel. Chen, stop fooling around. I was wrong. Don't kill me. Li Muhua screamed. Lu Chen laughed. Look at how scared you are. Why would I kill you? 10 wings. Suddenly, a huge dragon appeared outside the Royal Hotel. The huge body circled in the air, and was at least a few hundred meters long. Roar. The dragon's roar shattered all the glass on the 20th floor of the Royal Hotel. Everyone looked at the huge dragon in horror. Their faces drained of all color. Dragon. It's a dragon. Could it be a mount from Jiutian? Nonsense, there's no such terrifying mount in Jiutian. 10 wings? Stronger than Mad God's 9 wings? What's going on? 10 wings caught Lu Chen and Li Muhua accurately and disappeared in the air in the blink of an eye. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.